Hello!
Welcome to Hot Fuzz. I'm Edgar Wright, the co-writer and director of Hot Fuzz.
And I'm Simon Pegg, and I play Nicholas Angel, and I am also a co-writer of Hot Fuzz.
You're watching Hot Fuzz from Universal. This was an idea to have the history of police sirens. So Hackenbackers, who are amazing dubbing people, came up with basically like police sirens through the ages to take us into the first shot. Bang! This was shot... Where was this shot in...
it was near City Airport, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was some kind of abandoned building that had never been used. Some people think this is like a point-blank reference, but the truth is that it wasn't really written like this. It was just this location happened to have an amazing vestibule like this, so we decided to kind of... It had to be the opening shot. And Jess, our DP, made sure that we caught it at magic hour.
Whammo. How did you do that thing with the face? Because that is the face that... I mean, that is simply the shot replicated, isn't it?
Yeah, we put your face from the shot into your badge, so on the day you had a little bit of green.
I remember.
This is whizzing through a lot of locations very quickly, but a lot of this shot was shot on the first three... We did like a little pre-shoot before we started shooting. So basically kind of...
This was Hendon, wasn't it?
That was Gravesend, and this is Hendon.
That's it.
Simpson Hall. This is where people get their. This is where people really get their graduations.
There is such a thing as the silver baton of honour, isn't there?
Yeah, the baton of honour.
It's true.
That was the first shot. No, that was the first shot, and the other one was afterwards.
That's right.
But a lot of this montage was done very early on. That's at Hendon.
I actually did that.
You did do it. The shot of you with the camera attached inside.
Now,
You're so fast. I'm getting an embolism already.
I think I did actually claim to do that in the other commentary as well, but I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that I did by doing blanket commentary coverage.
What, the skid?
Yeah.
That was I'm sure we mentioned this before, but that's Garth Jennings, the director of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and Son of Rambo, playing the crack addict. We have a lot, we have a kind of an agreement that we appear in each other's films.
That's Father Christmas.
Jackson.
Peter Jackson there in.
Hello, Sergeant.
I felt a bit bad that his cameo is so fleeting, and I sent him he watched it the other day, and I sent him an email to warn him how short it was, and said, think Hitchcock and then think quick. Think quick cock. It's a quick cock cameo.
Think cutting room floor.
He emailed me afterwards to say that he was when he saw how short the bit was, he wound me up by saying that he walked out of the film and went around, wandered around at a loss, and then came back for the sort of the scene with the flowers on the grave at the end.
He walked around for 5 hours and came back for the end.
Yeah, and he said some excellent credits followed.
Is there a sergeant's position here in London?
Now,
Can I remain here as a PC?
No.
We always had this idea, like I'm sure we mentioned this on the Shaun of the Dead commentary, that Martin Freeman was like the other you.
Yeah.
And we
With
wanted
more
to
hair.
we wanted to play on that a little bit more here by having him as that you're the officer on the street and he's the pen pushing college boy.
Who took the desk job route?
The desk jockey.
The desk jockey. We kind of we had a number of casting ideas from the outset, and these first three were very early on. We wanted to get to play these parts just because it was this sort of continual trumping, if you can forgive the phrase.
That sounds a bit wrong.
It sounds like chronic flatulence, but
It's the idea of literally having the top brass. So kind of, as cameos go, it's a good kind of way of like showing kind of, bringing out the big guns. Of they kind of, and what's funny when Coogan agreed to do it, he said to me, "So hang on, so Martin Freeman is my junior and Bill Nye's my senior," and I said, "Yeah, he goes, I can live with that."
so Coogan.
It was
Sorry, I'm gonna have
That's a great frozen smile. That.
I know it's also great just having them there for like it felt like we had them down for 2 days basically and shot all of their scenes.
Yes, I do.
And then one of the most exciting things for me, like making this film, was having such a great mix of actors together. Like, there's a lot of kind of stars in it, and like the accusation maybe that's kind of like celeb heavy, but from my point of view, it's like having the best ensemble you could ever have.
Absolutely. We kept getting asked in some of the initial interviews about how did you get these people, and is it some sort of club? And we fought hard to to get every actor. You know, you never just take it for granted and assume people are going to do it because they like you. I mean, you know, Bill, we had to, you know, we wrote to him and said it's not a huge part, but we really want you to do it because it's a significant part. And you know, everybody, you don't just get a script and do it because the people that are making it are your friends. You do it because it's good, right?
Also, like, better to have a whole cast of great British actors than be forced to put an American actor in the part, crowbarred in, playing a funny FBI agent.
Which you're sometimes kind of asked to do.
No, absolutely. It does happen a lot. It's surprising. Bill Nye had a thing where he said he read the script and he said, I'll only do it if you write me one more joke. And that was his... of
course I can. I'm the chief inspector.
Cue Twitch.
Oh.
Now here, who's this lovely lady? This lovely Oscar-winning actress of which... This is Cate Blanchett, who you may or may not know, is playing the part of Janine, uncredited. She was very nice of her. She kind of, you know, came down for the day. She gave her fee to charity, and I couldn't help but feel on the set that by showing only her eyes, we were only using 8% of her talent. There's kind of 8% of Oscar-winning talent on show there.
You do realise how much she does use her eyes because they're very emotive.
Absolutely.
And,
we're also slightly transfixed by Blanchett's peepers.
Well, I spent an entire day sort of between shooting, just sat upstairs chatting, and you know, I've been a huge fan of hers and for a long time. So it was quite a fun day for me, you know.
And you have a mask fetish as well. So
I do. I'm very.
It was
into
like double
masks.
Christmas.
It's like reverse molestation. I don't know where I'm going with this.
We can edit this out later.
But she was absolutely lovely, and it was a real treat. It was like Jim will fix it for me that day. I got to spend a day with Cate Blanchett.
That's Joe Cornish in the background, and earlier on we had Robert Popper from Look Around You fame.
And also, who's with Joe?
That's Chris Waite, and that's my voice. I feel awful that because we needed to redub it, I ended up for speed. I ended up redubbing it, and I felt bad.
Chris hasn't stopped crying, has he? Since he came to the premiere.
This is
Who did that shot? You weren't in the copter, were you?
No, the helicopter stuff was all shot on the same day. We tried to maximise our budget by shooting all of the helicopter stuff on the same day. So in one day, they shot part of the car chase in Hatfield. They shot stuff on London all the way down to Wales, and then they shot stuff in Wales. So we really got the maximum out of one helicopter.
Weirdly enough, they drove the helicopter to Wales, though. That's the thing. At the back of a truck.
Hang on, we haven't talked about that whole montage. It's gone. It's gone.
This was all done in pre-shoots, right? This was all done before principal photography.
Well, it's like that idea. I was like a big fan of directors like, you know, Juno and Caro, who kind of show like sequences, storytelling in really kind of quick cuts. And there's a lot of people that I admire like that, like you know, Jean-Pierre Juno and Darren Aronofsky have that great thing of, and Scorsese, obviously, he's the granddaddy of it. Some interviewer once asked me, said, "Oh, did you steal all your montages from Snatch?" And I said, "No, I stole them from Martin Scorsese, like Guy Ritchie did."
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
I like the way there's a little thing there where you see the swords on the wall that Bernard eventually uses against Angel in the final battle.
Yeah,
So
we were
there's
very
scene setting going on.
We were very anal about that kind of stuff, of having little. It's almost like playing like a video game and having those little objects, items that you can pick up in the background, or things that are significant for later.
And pray silence, please, for the Queen, Billie Whitelaw.
So William Whitelaw.
Willie Bitelaw, as my wife called her one day by accident.
She, Billie Whitelaw is amazing. A living legend, as they say. And it was so fun having her on set, and she was constantly sort of threatening to retire, sort of like before and afterwards. She pretty much with every single shot she'd be saying, "Darling, this is my last shot in the movies," and I'd be going, "Don't say that." She's
hilarious. I love it.
Don't say that.
On the making of documentary, she says, "I never really enjoyed acting." And I watched that and I just think, but you're one of the greatest actresses this country's ever produced. And she said, "I don't like acting."
The reluctant Thesp.
She is. She's wonderful. And
I have a great story about her and Twisted Nerve, but that's for another time. It's too long for this commentary.
Different commentary.
Just say it on the end credits. The end credits are about 5 minutes long. Remind me about the Billy story.
Okay.
This is Wales. This is my hometown.
Here we are.
Well, it's weird. It's like it's a village in the film. It is my hometown, and yet technically it's a city because Wales is the smallest city in England.
Because of the cathedral, I guess.
Only beaten by St David's in Wales, which I'm sure pisses them off no end.
Absolutely. That's in the UK. Look at the hoodies.
His XTC on the soundtrack.
First appearance of Nicholas Frost.
This was the Royal Standard in Beaconsfield. Didn't it say something that was like Britain's oldest pub?
It is Britain's oldest free house.
What does a free house mean exactly?
It means that, do you know what? I can't honestly give you a proper definition right now without sounding like a fool.
Guys, anybody listening out there knows what a free house is, please ring in on the Hot Fuzz phone line.
I think it means like a free house, like you're able to enter and drink. I think it's it isn't attached to a brewery. I think is what a free house is. A lot of pubs are attached to breweries. Shall I shut up?
You're watching Hot Fuzz. Okay, we have to do that joke several times. Look out for the, you know what's funny? One of the ADs, when we were shooting this scene, came out to me and said, just wanted to say that the word bypass is misspelt on the paper. I said, oh yeah, it's supposed to be like that. We wanted it to annoy people, the kind of people who put goofs on IMDb.
Yeah.
To be sitting there in the cinema with a,
going, I've got them.
I've got them now. They spelled bypass wrong.
Those idiots.
I like the joke with the braces. That's Rory there.
That's Rory. And Tom Strode-Walton, who is we used to call him Red Cloud because of his incredible hair. There he is.
He's from my school. We actually did auditions in the Wells Blue School, which is my old comprehensive. I have to stress that it's a comprehensive because Blue School sounds very posh. And I am not a posho, contrary to popular belief.
Get out.
Here's Rory. Simon was very insistent that I pitched that up to make it sound higher, which is a very similar joke to Brian in second series of Space, but a very funny one.
They're talking of which, there's Julia Deacon, who's our old friend from Space. Old in that we've known her for a long time, not so she's old.
You're looking super serious in this scene, I like it.
I got Marvel eyes, as you used to say.
Yeah, I used to give Simon the direction of saying Marvel Comics, meaning like do more kind of expressive Steve Ditko style eyebrows, like Harry Osborn with his widow's peak. It is Harry Osborn, or is it Norman? Norman is Green Goblin and Harry is Hobgoblin.
Hobgoblin, yeah.
James Franco.
Now there's a big clue as to what's going on in the film.
Yeah, we wanted to do a lot of we're a big fan of, like, when we were writing this, we're a big fan of mystery films, things like, not obviously The Wicker Man, but even things like, things like Chinatown, where there are significant visual details given to you early on. I mean, lots of films like that, like The Usual Suspects or like The Last of Sheila, like films which kind of give the game away early on if you're paying attention.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Because we lost the Gabriel thread from the main film, which we'll talk about, was there a reason you kept in the G, or just did you keep it in as a sort of
because
a red herring?
Well, also Edward mentions the graffiti, and it comes up with the spray cans and them rubbing out the signs.
Of course.
You start talking about basically you can't fit an anecdote it fits into 3 scenes. It's like I look back at the screen and already we're on to another.
Well, it is fast, funny, and furiously paced.
Quote the Daily Star.
I think that was the Observer.
I like you can't go wrong with a cone on the head. We've all done it.
William Bailey.
You must have put a cone on your head at some point when you were
so many times. I used to think that National Cones hotline was especially for students to phone up so they could rent them. Bill Bailey is a man that just exudes funniness.
I love your pen kind of like
double-handed pen action.
Double-handed pen action like Ash.
Well, that's a really nice way into this sequence, which is basically paperwork shot like a fight sequence.
Well, it was always when we were doing research, a lot of the police said that we interviewed a lot of police, and they all said that the only part of the job they'd never seen dramatised was the paperwork. So, having watched Man on Fire and Domino and seen Tony Scott's amazingly over-caffeinated flash sequences, I thought it'd be a good thing to do some hefty form filling done in that style.
I think the population of the British Police Service will thank you for that.
Stuart Wilson there. This is
Is Lorraine.
This was all shot in the marketplace in Wales in the day now, which looks beautiful.
Kevin and Nick, as we know, in the first appearance of the man known as the Daltonator.
The Daltonator. It's... This was the first... Oh, yeah, this was the first take. And actually, it wasn't so brilliantly framed, this, because it looked like he was pushing you out of the frame, and we did a retake. And then when I watched it back, I thought, oh, but isn't that good? It looks like Simon Skinner is literally trying to take centre stage and push Nicholas Angel out of the picture.
And I love it. What was your story about having like a neon sign pointing to him saying "bad guy"?
Oh yeah, I always wanted when you read, reviews when people say, "Oh, the bad guy is so obvious, you may as well have a neon sign pointing at him." I wanted to literally do that. I couldn't figure out a way of doing it because the shot was moving. I was trying to think about, in chemist windows you get those kind of cross signs. So we were really trying to figure that out. When we were writing this, me and Simon, not only did we immerse ourselves in watching lots of action and thriller films again, but also we read Roger Ebert's Big Book of Hollywood Cliches, which is amazing, which...
Essential reading, isn't it?
Essential reading, and we made copious notes of every single thriller cliche that we could to make sure we could get them in. So I kind of feel, especially in the latter half of the film, it starts to play like the greatest hits of thriller cliches. All the things you've heard before, and again.
Even stuff like which you do, which in the dub you did great, is the feedback on a mic, which I think is that's page 1 of the cliche book.
Feedback on a mic, somebody waking up in a hotel room and immediately switching their lights on without any fumbling.
Yeah. Hearing anyone that speaks into a microphone in a public place will automatically incur some feedback.
Well, this is a classic cliche, is any superior who appears to be genial is definitely going to be a bad un.
Yeah.
A rotten apple.
See Hal Holbrook.
See Hal Holbrook in Magnum Force.
Magnum Force. And...
the Star Chamber as well.
Star Chamber. And there's something else he does it in as well.
Well, when Jim Broadbent kind of read the role, he sort of said straight away, he goes, oh, this is like the James Cromwell part in LA Confidential. He said, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Jim approached us at the BAFTAs in 2004, my favourite line, and said how much he'd enjoyed Shaun of the Dead and asked us if we'd consider using him. And it was probably one of the silliest questions we've ever been asked, really, for an actor that good to come and say that. And we were like, of course. And so we went into the writing process of Hot Fuzz with Jim in mind.
Absolutely. There's the hedgehog.
Riot Room!
Coming back later.
Evidence room.
This was all shot in a building in where was this? Like it was just near Bushy, wasn't it?
Yeah, right near Bushy.
Yeah, this location was a real pain, I have to say. It
a lot of
looks
glass,
great.
wasn't it? It was
a lot of glass, and it was really small. We actually made a lot of this on location. There was actually less stuff in the studio than Shaun of the Dead, which is great in that it looks really authentic and real, but it can be a real pain. But it's here's one of my favourite jokes. I like this.
That's so funny.
I'm surprised. I'm quite pleased we got away with a 15 on this film because we really pushed it as far as the C word and the blood would go. That's a nice joke for a frame advance. Freeze frame that and read all the things around Kevin's head. We really
Samson.
Thatcher. She's your only policewoman. She's not a policewoman.
As much like Spaced and Shaun, me and Simon are such big fans of TV shows like The Simpsons and films like Raising Arizona. We really try to make it something that you can't quite take it all in one sitting. So hopefully this is the kind of film that people will watch more than once and spot things second time round.
I think in the age of DVD,
DVD,
you owe it to the audience to make a film worth watching more than once. I think it's important, and I think there are certain things in this film that you won't get until you see it twice, because the punchline comes before the setup. So when you watch it again, you have the wherewithal to get it. Do you know what I mean?
It wasn't until the second time that I watched it that I realised that was Edward Woodward. It's amazing.
The great Edward Woodward.
Great Edward Woodward.
One of the nice... Well, do you know what? It sounds cliched, and I think I maybe even said it too much, but what a great group of people this was. It was a real pleasure to sit around while Edgar was feverishly trying to set the shots up for us to sort of sit around and just chat between setups. It was... the anecdotage was insane.
But the thing is, my only regret of the whole film is that I got half anecdotes.
I know you did. You didn't get to hang out.
you know, Edward Wood would be about to tell me an amazing story about Christopher Lee on The Wicker Man, and then it'd be like, oh, ready for the next shot? And it's like, and I never got the end of them. I need to kind of I need to do a little tour of like Ken Cranham and Edward Woodward's houses.
I think on the commentary that Edward does with Ken and Paul and Tim, I think that you might get a few full anecdotes in there if you listen in.
I think that's sort of like you can, you know, sort of set your TV to Thespa Vision. Or Thesperama would be audio, wouldn't it, of course?
They were just up for it, you know, and it's important because we were asking a lot of them in some respects because we wanted them to be sort of ever omnipresent a lot of the time. So some days they'd come in and they'd simply be background, and it's you know, it's a lot to ask of actors that are that capable and that experienced and that renowned to just set the scene, you know. And I think you handled everybody really well because they understood exactly what you wanted them to do.
I'd like to apologise to Ken Cranham and Maria Charles for this scene, because at the end of the scene when they talk about the farmers and farmers' mums, you originally saw a shot of Paddy and Rafe looking at Ken and Maria, and they were basically standing in the back of Simon's shot for the whole time, and we did a close-up, and then it just worked better without it. So in that particular case, I owe Ken Cranham a drink. I'm sorry.
I'm sure he'll be very keen to have that with you.
I know. I look forward to it.
Discuss your neglect.
Ken has the most amazing laugh of any actor.
It's deep and dirty.
He doubles over when he laughs. This was a tough scene to do.
One of the first scenes we wrote as well.
Yeah.
I think the Janine scene was the first scene we wrote, wasn't it?
Janine, and then maybe the Arthur Webley scene as well.
Yeah.
Well, I tried to do a lot of things here. I really like that kind of thing, what they call diegetic sound, of like sound that's going on in the scene that soundtracks things happening, and there's lots of nice little things, not just with the fruit machine, but like you can hear, if you hear back there when Danny's ears prick up, you hear the cash register in the background. I kind of like doing things like that.
You're great at that. You're the king of scoring with a fruit machine, I've got to say. There's some classic moments in this with that.
Fruit machines, cash registers, it's all good. I love all that stuff.
The stuff with the farmers' mums is...
Oh yeah, there's like... No, I like all that. I think sort of, you know, I think I probably had my lot of fruit machines. After this one, though, and then move on.
I think it's a layer of detail that you don't always see, and that's one thing I think that's good about being a writer-director, is that you are, you know, and because you're so present in the edit with Chris as well, you get to have to intercede at every single level of the film. Do you know what I mean? So you're stamped all over it.
Well, the thing is, I mean, it's when we make these films, like, if you ever read the screenplays to the films, they've got all the lines, but there's very little detail in the stage directions, mainly because it's just too long, and so it's great kind of when you're editing and dubbing, because you can add so many other layers and things, either new ideas that you had or ideas that you've had for ages, and it's like it all comes together at the end.
We actually skimp on stage directions in order to fit more dialogue in and get the page count down.
I know.
The kind of things that we do to get the page count down.
Writer's cheats. I don't think there's a single writer that hasn't sort of changed the formatting to make it seem shorter.
I know.
What an amazing buffet of talent in this scene. Anne Reid.
Oh, get on.
The Whitelaw. We all, I think all of the boys have a crush on Anne Reid, don't they?
She's absolutely lovely.
Lest we forget, she's had Bond in her time.
She did have a little bit of a tryst with Bond.
I must stress that that's in the film The Mother, the Roger Michell film, and not in real life.
Yes.
Well.
Do you know what I heard from Roger Michell the other day? He saw the film and really loved it.
Oh, really?
Because he goes, he sees Anna Maxwell Martin, and if I can say that, and they both saw it and really liked it.
Good.
Personal information, broadcast to the world. I love
Stuart Wilson here, Paul Freeman, Ken Cranham.
There's a second viewing thing, is Jim in this scene, I think, when you watch it knowing he's bad.
Particularly in that shot.
Yeah.
The idea with this, I mean, what we really wanted to do with the NWA was cast kind of like, not only cast British institutions, like amazing kind of actors and character actors, but also there was an idea that a lot of these people have essayed great baddies in their time, and we really wanted that idea that like that you would watch the film and think, oh, you know, there's a lot of significant actors playing these seemingly kind of insignificant parts, and for it to seem slightly suspect. And so, you know, if you're a film fan, like, you can definitely kind of spot straight away that, like, well, Stuart Wilson can't be just playing a doctor, and Billie Whitelaw can't just be playing a
Anne
hotelier.
Reid can't not have any lines, and then, of course, she has all the lines in that one scene.
So we really wanted to have this thing where it felt like a real a really winning hand of baddies, and
Those
kind
pecs. Look at those pecs.
of nice. They're very much like inspired by, I don't know, I think it's like Murder on the Orient Express, you know, where you have like a star-studded cast of potential suspects.
Which I think what you said about it's actually an aid to understanding as well.
Yeah, I think when you watch a lot of those kind of film noir films and mysteries and stuff, you know, anything from like The Big Sleep to kind of, I don't know, like Oliver Stone's JFK, you have very famous people playing small parts so that you can follow it.
Yeah, exactly. There's Johnny Burrell, wasn't it, there behind me?
Johnny Bryan does look like it. It does, doesn't it?
I think all of Razorlight are in there somewhere. Now, I just wanted, before we move on, I was really pleased with Have You Got It In You, because it was just a slightly inappropriate...
Yes, not good for a school.
For a school, no.
That would not go down well in the current climate.
New. New. I love this piece of music. This is a kind of rarity that you found, isn't it?
Oh, it's on that album, Velvet Tin Mine. There's an album of glam rock no-hit wonders. And when we were writing, a lot of the time, a lot of the music that we used in the film is stuff that we were listening to whilst we were writing. And I think this one came up on my iPod shuffle. And there's something about the glitter kind of stomp, like glam rock thing that really goes with like policemen plodding along.
Do you think it's because of the siren at the beginning of Blockbuster that makes that connection?
And there's definitely that, but I also think weirdly that kind of pace, it seems intrinsically British, of like lolloping along.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
it's true,
like
it's
sort
true.
of like
It's like the beginning of The Bill, kind of.
absolutely.
Stephen Merchant, Adam Buxton, we've both seen there. And also...
This bit, that's one of my main regrets for this film, is that we did a couple of reshoots and we had a killer idea for that swan joke, and it's one of my few regrets about this that we didn't get to shoot it.
we tried, didn't we?
It was going to be a woofer.
Then Nick grew a beard and he couldn't shave it off
I
because he
know,
had to do
Nick had
hyperdrive.
Yeah. Oh well.
Should we say what it was?
It was just going to be a series of honks. It was going to be like Danny and Angel honking in time.
It was also Angel
kinda-
finally succumbing and trying a honk.
This bit here is kind of like a nod to those kind of urban films like Training Day. Like if you look at something like kind of Training Day or you know, SWAT, or kind of like those kind of films where they have like the slow motion kind of shots of potential perps.
Yeah.
And also, this came from researchers that we got a lot of things out of, particularly the Met cops in the city. Street smarts. Things like kind of people wearing hot coats on warm days are kind of like clearly concealing weapons or drug dealers. It's all kind of like true.
Groups of 3 people. They were like, when we were on patrol in Lambeth, the officer that took us out showed us all sorts of things that were going down that you wouldn't really spot unless you knew what was happening.
Yeah, we'd be going past the tube station and he'd say, 3 guys outside, 2 in the front, 1 in the back, 2 in the front are taking the money, 1 behind's got the drugs.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm doing a Somerset accent, because he was from Brixton. I'm sorry, I'm getting all confused.
Here we are in Hounslow.
Yeah, this was not the Summerfields in Wells. This was an empty Safeway in Hounslow, which we redid as a Summerfields. There's me. That's my tiny cameo.
Is that you? I didn't even know that was you.
I used to be a shelf stacker at Summerfields, and when I did my little cameo as a shelf stacker, I wore my uniform for the rest of the day, if you remember.
I do remember that.
I felt
Of course.
very comfortable.
You seemed too comfortable. You had a little tie on as well, I remember.
Well, it's kind of a nod to, like, Tarantino does that thing of wearing the costume specific to the scene. I've never felt more at ease as I was back in my shelf stacker.
Listen, you know your place, mate, and that's the main thing.
I know.
You got to
absolutely.
get back there. The gateway, as it was then.
I think in a couple of films I will be going back there.
Look at him. Look at him work.
I know. I love that. He looks so regal.
Do you remember we had
Tina
that?
Richardson, our assistant editor, when she was digitising in the rushes, she said, Timothy Dalton looks like a cartoon fox.
It's like Foxy out of Foxy Bingo. Do you remember we had that little argumentative discussion about whether or not I should have my hat on, because it was like a little kind of collision of what was cool and what was real. Do you know what I mean?
But I think it's a good.
And we compromised quite well, I thought.
Presumably, what do police officers do in like foot chases? You can't run along with your helmet on or your cap. They just carry it under their. Maybe they just carry it.
How many times did I do that to
A
get
lot.
that skid
It's
right?
on the outtakes.
Of course.
This is.
They put
love this.
KY jelly on the floor to make it able for me to skid, and it was also slightly false footing, pardon the pun.
You can't go wrong with Super Cop. which
Zombie
Jackie
party.
Chan fans will know as Police Story 3.
Now, who was our friend there in the shot mobility with the dog?
Malcolm and Jock.
And
He
Jock the
managed to
dog.
get in a lot of shots. There's Graham Lowe. He's an old friend of mine from school who was in a lot of my amateur films.
Does he say tosser?
He does say tosser, yeah. I got him to do that in ADR. This was great shooting this. This is the High Street in Wales, and this is
Lorraine
where I
Hilton.
used to walk to school. This is how I used to walk to school down this little alley. This is called
But not running like that.
This is called Lovers Walk, believe it or not, and even believe it or not, even more. That is where I had my first kiss down the alley
With me.
with you.
Now, this is a joke you wrote a long time ago, isn't it?
It is. I wrote this joke for another film, and I always thought it was a good one. A film that never got made about a pub crawl. I always thought, you mothers. That's kind of like a Raiders of the Lost Ark type shot
Yeah, they're running up to the camera.
with the scene with Marion and the baskets.
Here's our little callback to Shaun of the Dead.
And Simon, not Simon.
I can't do
They're
that.
still pretty. I mean,
It's a great changeover. That is Nick, though.
well, I asked Nick to look behind here so he could take the lap of victory. He said, well, why would I look behind? Should I keep on running? He said, if you don't turn round, nobody will know it's you that's done it.
Batman.
Batman Begins sound effect there. This is, now Marcus Carter, who gets a mention later in the film, who's an old friend of my brother, this is outside his house, as I realised. He emailed me the other day to say he was looking forward to seeing the film.
There's Elvis, the Swan.
Man.
Now
This
here's
is-
the Gabriel in the hoodies. Gabriel Weaver. There's a whole thread about the fact that Gabriel Weaver, who was the head of the hoodies, is the grandson of Edward Woodward's character, Tom Weaver.
We were really running out of time shooting this scene, and the sun was going down. It was quite tense. I wish we'd have taken his cap off, actually. It would have made so much more sense for you to have whipped his cap off at the start of the shot. One of those annoying things that at the end of the day I go, oh no! More John Spencer on the soundtrack.
Ben Mackay is playing a very sheepish felon, but he's actually a very nice guy.
I like the fact he's always got his tongue out.
He has.
What do you mean he doesn't want to press charges?
Your reaction shot here is gold. I love that. It's like a sort of a triple take.
It's like he appeared out of nowhere. That's what I like. It's almost like he appeared in a puff of smoke.
Well, this is the thing. Like Simon Skinner, the inspiration for that character is. I used to work at the Summerfields, and my boss, who's absolutely lovely and sadly no longer with us, he.
Who we initially named the character after.
Yeah, he's Mr. Stockwell. His name is Mike Stockwell. He's a lovely, lovely guy, and he was really like, I used to really admire him because he kind of held himself like the mayor of the town. He was the manager of the Summerfields, and yet, so he didn't look a lot like Dalton, but I like the idea of like Dalton was kind of really, he's like the king of the town. He can walk in anywhere. He can just walk into the custody suite as he wishes.
Yeah, exactly. He's got like full access.
Yeah.
I must just mention, going back a little bit to the scene in the supermarket. We watched Get Carter as part of our sort of research, and that scene is directly.
Oh yeah, with John Osborne and his
homage.
gangster's mole.
Yeah.
I really like the fact that John Osborne, who plays Mr. Big in Get Carter, kind of has like a mole sitting on the edge of his kind of sofa. So that's what Alice Lowe was kind of playing, like the Summerfield mole. That said, you would get checkout girls who would loll around on, in the
Really?
assistant manager,
And Alice Lowe as well.
Maybe
That's
eating some biscuits that have gone out of
some crushed, some damaged
some
biscuits.
damaged biscuits.
Alice Lowe is great as Tina, the shot girl. She doesn't say much, but she's got that look of disdain which she carries off so brilliantly.
And I don't want to be sexist, but Alice has amazing pins.
You sexist. What's that noise? That boo-doo? Oh, is that the speeding
Oh, that's the
thing?
speed gun thing. The shortest car chase ever.
David Threlfall.
This,
What a guy.
look at his gloves.
Yes, you were, Mr.
He really, I think this look was his kind of, he had to have longer hair for another part, and at first I thought that, like, as a solicitor, he should have kind of shorter hair, but he sort of said, no, I should be rakish, I should be a bit of a ponce, and I said, you're right. So the whole kind of, he came up with the cardigan look, and the hair is just brilliant.
He's very funny as well. He was a hoot to work with because he was he was very he used to make me laugh during takes, not on purpose, just because he was just very funny.
I like as well, Lucy Punch is doing a lot of business in the back of shot.
Yeah, it's great, yeah.
She's twirling her hair, she's really trying to distract the eye, and it's working.
She's being bored. Yeah, she's trying to use her feminine wiles on Angel, who's not having any of it.
And the audience are thinking, how can I upstage Thrillfall in the show? I'll twiddle my hair and look cute.
There's a great line that David does in the Amdram, which is actually cut out when Skinner asks where his wife is, and he says, "No, she's at home with the dogs." And
She's at home with the dongs.
There's a great way that he delivered it.
This
You hypnotised him.
This was a tough. For some reason, like shooting in this lay-by was really lousy, wasn't it? I think we had a lot of weather problems this day, and it felt like we were all in a pretty foul mood. I was as well.
Oh, with Nick and I in the actors'
my
commentary.
hands.
Oh yeah.
That's just extraordinary.
That's Oscar's amazing flick book. Me and Oscar used to, when we were both at the Blue School, we used to do flick books in people's homework diaries and sell them for like £1 each.
You're both very adept artists. Obviously Oscar particularly, but you're both good at drawing.
Oscar coined he used to do endless stickman violence flick books. All of his flick books would be like black, sort of stickman drawn with black ink, but with red biro blood.
Nice.
So it'd just be constant like stickman violence.
Well, I mean, if you have the double disc, go to the Flickbook extra, I believe, if we have it.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Nick said that was twatty of Angel to do that.
I like the fact that he's twatty. I kind of like the fact that,
he is.
I like the fact he's a bit unlikable, because it's like you've got to be a bit kind of frozen to melt later on.
Exactly. He needs to be redeemed.
I know.
That was Nick. Nick, that became Danny's signature tick, was his...
It's chimp laugh.
Yeah.
Oh, I like this bit. This went through various stages. Originally it was Guys and Dolls in the script, and then we couldn't clear Guys and Dolls because it's too expensive, and we thought about Romeo and Juliet because it had a bearing on the fact that like Martin and Eve were having an affair. And then it came up with the idea of doing the Baz Luhrmann thing, and then almost as quickly the idea of doing the Cardigans song, which Jonathan Whitehead, who does a lot of music for Chris Morris, did the rendition of it, like the Cockney,
hilarious,
which is brilliant.
And also, obviously, the costumes was one of the first things, having them continually in the costumes that you remember them from the film.
Yeah, it's the idea. Yeah, they keep the fancy dress costumes on. The other thing I like is when David Thrillfall goes to the bar. He's still got his makeup on.
Yeah.
We thought he's so vain that he'd be in the dressing room and he'd go, "Oh, I look fine. It looks fine."
He'd rush out to meet his public.
Absolutely. Another hefty transition there with some... We like the idea the cranberry juice kind of in extreme close-up was the idea that blood is about to be spilt.
Also,
that's why it's all kind of red. It's sort of red for impending doom.
Splashing into the cup. Also, the Romeo and Juliet thing panned out really well, because when I remember reading the play to find out what Skinner could say to Angel when he appears at the scene, and there's that great quote about "Never was there more woe."
Yeah.
And it seemed to fit so perfectly.
Just to go back to Greg and Sherry there, the thing about Straw Dogs being an extra in Straw Dogs is my brother's girlfriend, Nick, she lives very close to the village where they shot Straw Dogs, and it used to amuse me that the people in the village in Cornwall were always very fond of, had fond memories of the shoot, saying about, "Oh, well, you remember when they did the Warner Brothers film here with Dustin Hoffman?" And I think that film could not be nastier about the area, and yet everybody remembers it with such fondness.
Well, yeah,
and also, Dan Channing Williams, his girlfriend's mum at the time was an extra in Straw Dogs. Like, there was somebody on the shoot who knew somebody who was an extra in Straw Dogs.
Greg and Sherry, Trevor Nichols and Elizabeth Elvin,
Fantastic
who played
stuff.
our stand-ins. If you look carefully, you can see them on a poster for Romeo and Juliet later on, which I thought was a lovely touch.
Yeah, it's outside the newsagent in the final scene. This, now this comes from a real anecdote. I won't mention the names, but like my brother came home from school when I was about 8 with some scurrilous gossip. Well, there was some gossip going around the playground at the primary school that so-and-so had fingered so-and-so.
No.
Up by the frog pond. It wasn't the duck pond, it was the frog pond. Now, I went home that night. I went home that night, and when my mum and dad said, "What happened at school today?" I repeated back, without knowing what it meant, "So-and-so fingered so-and-so up the frog pond," and my brother nearly spat out his tea. I had no idea what fingered
And what
meant.
did Leslie and Chris make of it?
They went a bit white. I didn't know what fingered meant. I knew what a frog pond was.
I knew what frog pond. That's a different sexual
I
practice.
don't know why we didn't say frog. I don't know why we said duck pond instead of frog pond. It both sounds equally foul.
It does.
This is
I got frog ponded at the weekend.
I love the fact that you don't really have stage doors with red lights.
No.
Like the sort of the artistic license of having, like, you know.
Now,
I like it when people I do like it when some people have some kind of unfavourable thing to say about the film. They say, "Oh, it's just really unrealistic." It's thinking, yeah, there's a killer standing in plain sight under a red light. Under a red light.
which is entirely for dramatic effect.
Oh, back there's a nice thing that I like. If you watch back in that scene, in the shot where David and Lucy are looking at the door, you see a mannequin, which is kind of, you know, obviously a mannequin has no head. So it's kind of supposed to foreshadow the decapitated heads. So that
And
was the idea of
also,
that.
everybody that dies
Predicts their own fate.
Blower says, "We haven't got long," and Leslie says, "I'm just about to pop off."
And Skinner says about Ron, he'll be in bits tomorrow.
in the morning, yeah. And
Splat the rat.
yeah, splat the rat for Messenger.
Yeah, I like that. I always like sort of like, I don't know whether people gather that when they watch it first
And
time.
Tim, your number's up as well, which is
Yeah. I particularly like we haven't got long.
yeah.
This is the idea that you kind of like. It was weird actually. The sort of, I always thought that I should have directed you differently there. That you should have answered straight away. That you're not kind of caught up in your thoughts. That should have saved that one for the next time it happens.
Yeah, because the next time I'm slightly hungover.
I know.
Maybe it was a kind of slight confusion between the two.
Yeah, I really screwed up.
I can't believe you messed this film up like that.
I really. It's all my fault.
Interesting to note just how quickly the police service evolves. The radios that we're using there, by the time the film came out, were already the police were already using. In fact, I think they were using it while we were filming, the sort of mobile phone radios, which they do now.
Now, the Romeo and Juliet joke didn't come up until editing. That joke with Romeo and Juliet and fire came later. And, you know, the truth was there was no other song that fit the bill more perfectly than Martin Knopfler singing here. So, and we thought it was good karma after kind of slating Dire Straits in Shaun of the Dead that we should actually pay for one of their tracks.
You didn't tell me that you'd done that until I saw it. I thought it was really funny because it was a surprise. But don't do that again.
I love that shot. The lighting in your kind of
If
side
you're a bit of chocolate, you'd eat yourself.
shot is amazing.
Jess Hall, we got to say something about Jess Hall.
Jess Hall, well, everybody on the crew. Jess Hall, Marcus Rhodes, our production designer. Ben Gladstone, the location, you know, sort of manager. Amazing stuff. What I love, look in this scene, the fact that like the Andy's day planner is completely there.
Yeah.
Like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, nothing. Like nothing behind either.
Well, we always kind of like that when we were writing the characters. We always had this idea that they sort of played at being detectives, you know, because they never really had anything to do. So, which is why they threw themselves so wholeheartedly into the role in terms of what they wore.
Yeah, it's like
their tashes, you know.
Yeah, it feels like they're in sort of fancy dress. It feels like they've got some kind of police outfits out of their granddad's trunk, and they're just playing police detectives for the day.
That's a great reaction there when Angel actually says something like, you know, why wouldn't they have tried to apply the brakes? And it cuts to them, and they're like, huh?
I like the thing as well, all the way through in Bill Bailey scenes and with the Andes, is the idea of using like a phone to kind of like soundtrack sort of deadpan shots. You know, it cuts to the reaction shot. And you just hear like a solitary phone going. You also notice in the Sanford police station that there's always just one phone ringing, whereas in the Met there's like hundreds ringing.
Yeah. Now, was this the first day of principal photography?
First day of the proper shoot, yeah, and it was fucking freezing.
It was terribly cold.
You could tell it was so. I almost thought when we were shooting the scene, I was thinking, I hope the sub-zero temperatures are not kind of restricting the comedy. It was really.
It was
cold.
face freezing. It was kind of like that thing where you feel like your mouth has gone stiff.
This there's a little bit longer of this on the deleted scenes. But it's a night. I really like this scene, and David Bradley and Carl Johnson together. What a team!
I think we both agreed that we'd like to have done another round of translation before the joke ended, didn't we?
Yeah, I think the bit in the deleted scenes we screwed it up slightly. We basically left out one of the translations, but you know it still kind of works. I'm still happy with it.
Nick Frost is incredible in this scene. If you watch him behind me, His little face is brilliant.
This is the Lethal Weapon trailer music by John Alexander. Not the score from the film, just from the trailer, which, to my mind, is like, it's almost, in the same way that we use the Dawn of the Dead music in Shaun of the Dead. This particular percussive music makes me think of action films. I think of the Warner Brothers logo at the start of Lethal Weapon, or I just think of the trailers.
Yeah, I really remember that music from the trailer. I think we spoke about it when we were writing the film.
When I was
It's more memorable than the actual soundtrack.
Well, when I was a projectionist, it was that before I was sacked. In the 3 months before I was sacked.
And why were you sacked quickly?
Because I was rubbish. I was inept. But I must have seen the Lethal Weapon 2 teaser trailer 400 times. This a crane shot here, amazingly, to go over this hedge. But it's a pretty amazing stunt. It seems simple, but you can write those things in the script thinking they jump over a hedge, but actually doing it in one shot is quite difficult.
Yeah, and also a little optical illusion there because there was a ramp on the other side for us to get up, and the hedge was higher anyway, wasn't it? Was that to sort of facilitate the crane shot a bit?
Also to get you high enough to kind of clear it, I like the kick in the C mine, that's funny. Now, if you notice in the Bill Bailey shots, the joke, which you can see very briefly here, Ian M. Banks. Basically, one of the twins is reading Ian Banks and the other one is reading Ian M. Banks. That was our way of distinguishing between the two. And so that was a little kind of like sight gag that we thought up and put in for people to... I'm amazed that people spot that, actually. I wouldn't.
A couple of people have.
Well, it's on so fast. I'm amazed that people spot that. It's pretty crazy.
This was a tough one to shoot just because of Nick being the funniest man in the world.
We should have really, if we could have afforded it, we would have painted out Nick's tattoo because it doesn't seem like...
I was thinking about this the other day. I think it's something... I don't imagine Danny... I think he's probably had quite a troubled teenage life. Do you know what I mean? I can imagine him hanging around Glastonbury drinking cider before he shaped up and joined the force with his dad.
Do you think maybe he had Osric Tentacle-style hair at one point?
I think so, and I think he had a tat done, one festival year, and once it's done, it's done.
Yeah, Roy.
Another little reference to Shaun of the Dead. Oh my God.
Public Enemy.
Yeah, yeah.
I love the lighting on the Andes here. It's like proper kind of moody cop shot.
I have to say, I learnt, having done, 10 or 12 films or whatever, Jess Hall really defined for me what a DP does, because it was...
He paints with light.
Well, he did, and I mean, as actors, we were there to be kind of painted on, if you know what I mean, and then, then you took over when it came to obviously moving the camera and directing us as people, and...
What we really were trying to go for on this is we wanted to make it look really glossy, because, those Tony Scott films, they look amazing, and Jess had done a lot of great commercials and music videos, and he'd done this film called Stander with Thomas Jane. And I think particularly in the pub, the lighting is just beautiful, especially for the pub there was tiny. It was even smaller than the Winchester set on Shaun.
Yeah, well...
But look at the lighting in the scene, it looks beautiful.
No removable walls for a start. It was kind of... and a smaller square footage as well.
Two things to talk about here. We'll talk about David Arnold's amazing score later, but Uncle Derek is my real uncle. In Shaun of the Dead, we name-check Jill and Derek, and they're my real auntie and uncle. Now, in the first draft of the script, it didn't have the C word, and then that came in during rehearsal. So when we went to Birmingham to show the film, I had to kind of forewarn them. And I said to my cousin, I said to him, just to say, you get name-checked in the film, but also you get called a rude word. And my cousin was saying, how rude is that? I said, what's the rudest word you can think of? She goes, not a C-N-U-T. I said, yeah.
Yes.
But he was remarkably cool about it, and he thought it was very funny.
There's my first smile.
Yeah.
Proper smile.
Your first smile at 45 minutes.
Christ.
This is really... I love the fact both of you look really wet-eyed in this. You're tearing up. It's great.
I think that line about when Danny says about this...
Traffic collision.
It's so lovely because he's learnt from Angel in terms of the dialect, and the Angel's learning from him here. It's a very sweet scene, I think.
Well, it's like they're starting to have a transference. I like the idea that, the kind of the arc of the characters is Nicholas Angel gets to kind of let loose and kind of relax a bit, and Danny is going the other way. He's really... It's almost like sort of Simon's character is the first person that's ever inspired him. And even though he's doing it in a kind of slightly copycat way, he's learning by just repeating what, Angel is saying. I think it's sweet. Now look out here. Timothy looked at the camera, and I was gonna digitally remove it, but I thought it was so funny that I put a cash register noise on. So check it out. He looks right at the camera. He's gonna hate me for this, but I put a till noise on it. Look out. Here we go. Bing, bing. Dalton looking straight down the barrel. I just thought,
like he's being complicit with the audience.
I know, it's almost like a tiny breaking the fourth wall moment.
Now, just going quickly back, there's a bit of digital blood in the ketchup moment, right?
There is, yeah. There's quite a lot of digital. Double Negative is so good at the digital blood that I end up putting more and more on. You can never have enough splats.
That's not digital beer, though.
No, but there is it goes between two different takes here when it goes over to Ron. There's digital piss though, amazingly.
Is it really?
Because the piss ran out before the end of the shot, and so we had to put in some.
Is there a little Ron in shot there? Because I'm sure you see a little bit of pink.
There isn't. I think that's either his thumb or the end of the nozzle, but not his nozzle.
Not his nozzle.
This is Dave Bassett's house.
Yeah, we spoke about this in the other one. It was living next door to Dennis Wise as well, the Chelsea player.
Oh yeah. This, I was always pleased. It's got a big old laugh. Now, Ron Cook, I think he is the king of the pratfalls.
He's great, and he's great at playing a sort of sozzled drunk as well.
If he's like sort of, I think Ron Cook is the UK king of pratfalls, and David Cross from Arrested Development is the king of the Fallies in the States. There was a nice line there in ADR when he said, "Oh, I'm dying." But it never really worked.
Oh yeah.
I like this being like the end of the first date. For some reason this scene always reminded me of like I call it the Bridget Jones scene. I don't know why, sort of just this is me. That's a snog on the first date.
The little pleasantries. It's very much framed like the scene outside the Winchester as well, isn't it? In Shaun of the Dead when we sing White Lines.
Oh yeah.
The two profiles.
Here's nice. This is a nice. Now, what was the first film to use a bathroom cabinet shock? Don't say American Wealth in London.
I probably would have done.
Do say Repulsion, Roman Polanski. There you go.
Crikey.
Maybe it was done even before that, but Repulsion was the first film to use the killers in the bathroom cabinet mirror.
We've done that twice now because there was a little play on it in Shaun with Pete's shadow in the mirror. It's a faithful technique.
We ripped off John Landis without realising we'd already ripped off Roman Polanski at the same time. Anyway, this is a nice scene. And David Arnold's music. Here's the thing with David Arnold's score, which is amazing, is we basically had to try and really we couldn't really afford to do a really full orchestral expensive score for the whole thing. However, David's plan, which worked brilliantly, was that we did like 2 days of orchestral stuff at Air Studios, and and then it builds into these moments. So David said, we can't afford to do like a really expensive score for the whole thing, but if you pick your moments, it will really start to soar when it needs to. So I think it was a treat because it's kind of electronic for the first kind of half, and then in moments like this when it's, the score on this scene is just brilliant, and your performances are so funny. It's great.
It was very early on in the shoot, actually. It's like in the first week.
But it was amazing watching him do this music. Now this is my DVD collection. Your DVD collection? No, not yours.
No.
Me and Oscar, my brother, and Joe Cornish's DVD collection combined. However, I must say that at the end of the shoot, quite a few of them have been stolen.
No!
Somebody stole my King Kong.
Oh my goodness.
I had to rebuy it. This is obviously
76 version, yeah?
I have 76, 33, and I have the 76. I have all three of them. I quite enjoy the 76 version. This is Point Break, of course.
Now, we got permission from Keanu Reeves, Patrick Swayze, and Martin Lawrence, and Will Smith, didn't we?
Also, Patrick Swayze's stunt double. You have to get licenses from everybody. I always, Point Break, I remember, the first time I ever saw anything Point Break was on Moving Pictures on BBC Two. They had a piece about the making of the foot chase, which absolutely blew my mind. That foot chase in Point Break is one of my favourite scenes of all time.
We watched a lot of foot chase. Well, we watched the three I remember watching for research were obviously Point Break, but also Raising Arizona and Narc as well.
Narc's a good foot chase. Also, Busting has an amazing foot chase. Look at that.
Oh yeah.
There goes Dave. Now I want to know, because a lot of that is digital. There's some real flame elements. What did Dave Bassett make of that when he saw it?
He was probably glad.
Now, this line, whoever wrote this line in Bad Boys 2 deserves an Oscar, because this is the most...
Shit just got real.
In those films, when you have what's called the point of no return at the end of Act 2, when the kind of the chips are down, but our heroes are gonna face up to the final onslaught. Whoever then, reduced it to the line, the shit just got real is
But what
a
had just
genius.
happened in the film? Because I think a lot of shit had been real before that. Hadn't they been chased by a car that was throwing
think
cars off the back of a car?
They'd already taken on the Ku Klux Klan and the Haitians,
And then it's real.
and then it's real. Then they have to go to Cuba.
Cox.
This
Look, let's see Tim and Lorraine in the background there, just sort of skulking around. The killers.
and
at the
Greg
scene
and
of the
Sherry
crime.
as well.
Yeah.
It's fun. I like kind of playing out these scenes in one shot. It's a really good thing to do for performances, and then sometimes you can get in a pickle because if you want to cut something out, you're kind of screwed. But
We haven't mentioned our
really-
good friend Adam Buxton,
Adam Buxton is
playing Tim Messenger, who's
fantastic.
who came up with a little hi himself.
This Fire by the Crazy World of Arthur Brown.
Look at him.
Now, if you listen out on the ADR, you hear like Bill Bailey's. We did a lot of radio dialogue, and he has this great line about backdraft here.
Like some out of backdraft.
He did a whole load of stuff in the dub, which is hilarious.
I love the little bit in which I didn't hear until the cast and crew when you hear the Andys ordering a bacon sandwich when they go to the
Have a bacon bap hand.
a bacon bap.
The idea with like the Andys and Danny and Angel was that in a lot of films, in most cop films, you get the other team. You get it in like Beverly Hills Cop, you get it in Point Break, Bad Boys, the Super Cops. You know, all of those films have like the other team. And in a way, the idea for like Danny and Angel is that usually the leads of the film are cool and the other guys are nerds or like sort of like, you know, stuck up or you know, kind of so
They're just antagonistic, aren't they? They're the kind of smart, wiseacre kind of.
but we like the idea that our film was following the kind of the nerds essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, the kind of sticklers. I mean, Angel is the ultimate stickler.
Maybe we should have called your character Kevin Stickler, Sergeant Kevin Stickler.
And maybe we should say something. I mean, let's say it at the end. But obviously, Nicholas Angel was lifted from a friend of ours who worked on the film.
Absolutely. We never referred to him as Nick Angel. The real guy is Nick Angel, and we just thought Nick Angel was such a great name for a cop.
But Nicholas is never called Nick. The only one person calls him Nick in the whole film, and that's one of the Andys at the end.
Yeah.
He's actually Nicholas.
Somebody on the internet says that you call Danny by Ed's name. That's bollocks, isn't it?
No.
That sounds like
should
the thing
stop-
out of the end of Star Wars.
stop
with like
reading the
him saying, like, but it sounds like the thing when they say like that Mark Hamill says Carrie at the end.
I know.
Now, the spit roast joke we obviously missed there, but
Olivia spoke about that. I love the fact that she said that's me after a few pints, not even after a bottle of whiskey.
for some reason this scene here really reminds me of like Tony Scott coverage, like the real long lens shots. If you listen, Rafe goes, "Police time." He just repeats Paddy's joke, which I find funny. It was a beautiful day, this. We had such bad weather shooting this film, and then when it came to the fate, we finally got some sun, and it really worked out.
If you actually look, if you go back to Shaun of the Dead and see the Rafe's physical transformation, it's almost amazing as if you watch Big Nothing and then this to see my physical transformation from potato to chip.
I love Stuart Wilson. He's such a great actor. So kind of like...
He's brilliant.
He's so brilliant, and he's such a chameleon, like David Threlfall as well. Like, Nick watched Lethal Weapon 3 the other day, and I said, "Oh, did you like Stuart in it?" He said, "Who?" I said, "Stuart's the baddie, Jack Travis." He goes, "No way!" He hadn't even realised that, like, sort of Stuart was like the lead baddie in Lethal Weapon 3.
The thing I love about the actors in the film, because they're so good, whenever they're on screen, they absolutely give it 110%. This is a great example of Stuart doing that. The relish is fantastic.
This scene with the rifle range is really... We one of the films that we watched when we were researching, we watched Unforgiven again, which like stood up so amazingly well. What an amazing script. And we really like the portent of, like, in that film, Clint Eastwood's character, you hear of him being a great, like a killer, and, he's kind of changed his ways, and you're waiting for kind of the violence to break out again. And we kind of wanted to do that, not with violence, but the idea that Angel is an amazing marksman, but he doesn't really touch his kind of rifle. It's like he's kind of like off the drink, isn't he?
It's like he can't. Well, it is like The Unforgiven. It's like when he takes the drink, that's when things go bad. It's like as soon as Angel touches a gun.
Yeah, I like the fact when you touch the gun, you kind of look slightly sort of soiled, don't you?
He gets a little shudder.
Here's a feedback cliche right there. Also, that's another cliche. If somebody like Adam Buxton's character says, "I've got something important to tell you, meet me in 5 minutes," it means they are going to die. Big time. I had such fun shooting the scenes. Probably my thing I'm probably proudest of in the film, just because we used a lot of crane stuff, crane shots in this, and I'm a really big Brian De Palma fan, and I wanted to kind of try and even vaguely approximate kind of like one of his big set pieces and stuff. Obviously, there's a nod to The Omen as well, and with this, the other thing that this makes a nod to, just to show that we are all references, is the film Death on the Nile has that scene where like Lois Charles and Simon McCorkindale are almost crushed by a falling stone. And so this is our idea of rectifying that by showing everybody what they want to see, which is two people, well, somebody getting crushed by a big stone.
I love the fact that you managed to create tension by using a tombola.
I know, the tombola of doom. Look, I love these shots. That's about 200 foot up on St Cuthbert's Church, and I'm from Wales, but I've never been up on that roof. And up there doing those crane shots was amazing. Just the view was incredible. The music in this bit that David did is brilliant.
The supreme irony that the church roof needing repair is the very thing. Bang!
Bang!
That kills Messenger.
There goes the 12A.
That lovely little bit of theremin kind of noise there.
Oh yeah. Well, that we were really like. Yeah, the sound work in this by Hackenbackers as well is incredible. But this works. I mean, pretty much if you see the storyboards of the film, it was storyboarded exactly like this. However, it still came off a lot better than I could have ever hoped. It was basically a combination of physical and digital effects, so both Artem and Double Negative just did an amazing job.
It looked good on the day. I mean, with the physical effect, which was obviously a fake head, but even then you could tell it was going to be spectacular.
I really like these kind of like using the wide angle to get all of the ensemble in. You know, I really like sort of, you know, just having things very kind of like posed and stuff.
It's worth mentioning actually about Edgar and myself when we wrote the Fisher character, Kevin's character. He's always the last to cotton on to anything.
Oh yeah. He's always the last to laugh.
Yeah, he's the last to laugh at all the jokes. He's the last to notice Messenger. He's just always one step behind everybody.
I just like him doing this serious scene with the Spider-Man face paint still on.
Yeah.
Sergeant Spider-Man in full effect. Sergeant P. Parker. We wanted to shoot this at night, and we ended up shooting it kind of day for night, and it looks beautiful actually. I was really against the idea of shooting it kind of.
It was pretty damn dark, wasn't it?
It was getting dark,
yeah.
It was really heavy, and I think everybody was in a foul mood when they shot this, weren't they?
Well, it was
cold.
It was cold, and also, as we said in the other commentary, sometimes you need to augment the rain to make it show up, so it was double rain.
It was funny.
I like the fact that now we're in wet weather gear. If we have action figures, I want all the costumes we got.
I like the fact they've got their sunglasses on. Also, like at the start of it, Paddy's still got a cigarette. It's great. The soggy fag.
And the fact that Nick's got a shower cap on his cowboy hat.
Nice squeaky noise on the gorilla.
I have to say, I think...
we didn't mention in the shooting range scene the idea of prefiguring the end of the film.
Oh yeah, I said that in the other one.
Oh right, about the kind of the cuddly monkey.
It's like the cuddly monkey. It's like the Ed's plan in Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
There's always something going on, Danny.
I have to say, I think Nick Frost's performance in this film is so good, and it makes me. I'm so proud of him.
Well, he did a nice thing in this scene is that we kind of written this as a bit puppyish, and then he said he didn't want to do that because it was too much like Mike from Space, and so he gets really angry when you kind of accuse him. And I thought that was great sort of change.
You don't know when to switch off, mate.
Nice with the old
Did you when you shot that? Did you mean it to seem like a ship? Because
well, it's shot on the Steadicam.
Yeah,
Steadicam has that kind of slightly floaty feel to it.
Yeah.
I love this shot coming up. This one with the monkey. I don't know why that makes me laugh.
Wait a minute.
The also audio flashbacks are so cheesy.
Now, the Sanford Citizen is actually named after the Gloucester Citizen, which was the local paper where I grew up.
Well, we like the idea because Sanford's a village. Essentially, it couldn't be a citizen because citizen is somebody from a city. So we like the idea that even their paper, they got ideas above their station. Because at Wells, where we shot it, has things on its brochures when it says England's smallest city, whereas we had on our brochures, which you never see, it said Sanford. It say England's largest village. They really kind of like slightly kind of had ideas above their station. This was, well, here's another cliche, is the library montage, looking for clues. He's on the case.
The last morning, we'd been up for God knows how many. You've been up for about 22 hours, I think.
Oh, that was awful.
We were so tired.
This is,
Thanks for the monkey.
the music in this is so sentimental, it really makes me laugh. I think some people don't know quite how to take this thing because it's so soppy, but
I want it for you.
if you look at those films, you know, any of the sort of, the most testosterone-driven films like, you know, Man on Fire and like Con Air and Bad Boys, they get so kind of homoerotic, and the score is like so sweeping and sentimental. I really like it.
I think, well, Bad Boys has got a really sweeping score, hasn't it?
Well, they all have. All of those films, the score is just huge.
Here we are back in the town square in Wells.
There's, in a second, Nick says the line of Thermotron, which we saw.
We saw that of SWAT, didn't we?
No, it's in the film Dark Blue, the Ron Shelton film, and we thought it was such a ridiculous line that it deserved another airing.
There you go.
Much like Younglings from Revenge of the Sith that crops up earlier on.
Yeah, a reluctant but
A line so awful it deserved a
little
second
nod.
innings.
And I think Peter Bradshaw picked up on that, didn't he? In
He
The
did.
Guardian, we
He
were quite
did.
pleased with that. Somebody saw it.
So,
Fingered.
Maybe they were all accidents. Oh, people have accidents every day.
well, the idea with this is that they get on the case. Like, we really wanted to, like, sort of Nicholas to be kind of shut out of the investigation. You know, be the kind of the police officer on the periphery who has to crack the case. And so it's almost like he's like trying to link the murders on his own time.
Well, he's kind of on the outside of the cordon when the Andes are inside doing nothing, you know.
Yeah, that was like a visual that we tried to get across, which you kind of see a little bit as, the idea of that being, again, that sort of like slightly Rosencrantz and Guildenstern thing about being the people on the edges of the big story, you know.
Yeah.
Of course.
Just about to pop off. She is going to die.
Now
Cut to the
we
shears.
understand why Anne Reid is in the film, because she has a wonderful monologue.
I like, again, like not only saying about to pop off, but if you see a close-up of some sharp implements, that means that somebody is going to die very shortly.
And
so I would hope that
such-
thriller fans would watch the film and thinking, I know there's going to be a big bit of dialogue here, but at the end of it, there might be some blood and killings.
But the hilariously contrived line, I can never find my scissors, as well.
I know.
Which is just like a way of explaining why there's a massive pair of shears on the desk.
I know. Here's the murder weapon. This, she did such a great job with this. And it's nice as well, like, because we do a lot of tracking in other places, but doing like a zoom is a bit more sort of like a 70s film, using the zoom instead of like sort of the dolly. It's a way of making it, you sort of make things a bit more intense by zooming in. It's not on a wide angle, it's, sorry.
No, it's true. I wasn't yawning at that.
No, I was boring myself, I'm sorry.
I think it's true. And also, that's something you learn when you start doing, start doing the films. Is the difference between panning in and zooming in, and what quality that gives to the film. And I think you just summed that up. Don't talk about it again.
You're watching Hot Fuzz. But no, Anne Reid's,
I'm concerned, Cousin Sissy can go and fuck.
Would you just
that always got a good laugh. I think we added in the ADR, we added an extra f to really make the fuck work. The fuck work.
One thing I love is fuck work.
That was Mike Kelp playing that particular hooded figure.
That's right.
This was this idea of the murder. Nice stunt coming up here. We reshot this to make it a bit better. This shot. We didn't. Nice stunt. The idea with the murders actually is that Nicholas Sandra gets closer and closer to it. It's like the first murder, happens kind of like they're the last people to see them alive. Second murder they deliver him to his door. Third murder he literally sees it, and fourth murder. The fourth Mordor. Peter Jackson's back. Now I just like the idea he gets closer and closer to it, and the last murder, him witnessing it happening right behind him, is kind of like those giallo films like Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Dario Argento, the idea of like, being right there when it happens but not really having all the pieces of the puzzle.
Now, one thing is that's always we stretch credibility with is the idea that the NWA operative, whoever this is, and I kind of think it's Lurch, would do it while Angel was there.
I know. They have a relay team as well, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah. It's almost like they're teasing Angel, it's almost like they're so confident that they even flaunt it in front of him, you know.
That's what's so funny when you watch these kind of like a lot of these thrillers with murders, is to really examine the logic of how, you know, how they pulled off. If you look at those Agatha Christie films, all of the murders is built on this absolute split-second timing.
Absolutely.
That could go so kind of wrong, these harebrained schemes.
The fact that the red nail varnish went under the sofa.
Yeah, absolutely.
All this kind of stuff.
Or that they kind of, they put some kind of like sort of, nail varnish on their leg whilst Jane Birkin's back was turned. But I love the idea that the killers, they had like a whole, they had a relay team there. It was really well thought out.
We had a term for it that we'd always use and would gleefully employ, which is of course popcorn logic, which these films always use a liberal helping of.
No, they don't. A lot of these films, the logic does not stand up to kind of like
close scrutiny.
After 5 minutes of leaving the cinema, you go, hang on.
I love the way everybody just laughs. Sanford's such a happy place.
I love Nick's little look down when you mentioned the peace lily there. It's funny. The interesting thing to note about the peace lily is in the original draft of the film, we had a character called Victoria. We had a girlfriend part for Nicholas. And the first draft of the film was too long. And basically we cut it out. But we gave a lot of her dialogue to Nick Frost. So we thought essentially Nick is playing the girlfriend role in this. So all of the dialogue about the peace lily was written for a lady. And it sounded so much funnier coming out of Nick's mouth.
Absolutely.
The M word, Nicholas.
The M word.
You see in the background, you see Jim's
pistols.
His pistols, also his cape, like his Batman cape, is even lit up. His Batty's cape.
I know who did it.
You do your St. Ivor's Gold voice there, like your deep. Explain the St. Ivor's Gold thing, Simon.
Well, that was a kind of half the fat and a buttery taste kind of voice. And Edgar would often say, more St. Ivel, from behind the camera, much to the bemusement of some of the crew and actors. But I know what he meant.
I'm slightly distracted by Alice's pins again. And Dalton's pins.
Dalton's got great calves. I haven't seen his thighs.
Dalton, that man is so handsome, and he's so kind of like, the man is 62, and he's a stone cold fox.
That's no question. He
calls his lady quakes wherever he goes. When he's walking down Wells High Street, he could have had the pick of the bunch.
I watched this with my mum and my sister and my wife, and they all went for when he came on, and they represent different generations.
Now, this was something, I don't think it was ever written into the script. I think because we tried to cut down on stage directions, all it said in the script was, we see lots of flash cuts and flashbacks. It looks pretty cool for a British film. That was what was written in the script.
I don't think we actually, in some instances, we didn't even script the sort of
flashbacks at all.
The flashbacks.
Well, I remember I did when I was doing the storyboards. I went through all the flashbacks and the backward stuff, and I tried to work it out because obviously whip pans work both ways. They work backwards and forwards. So I tried to work it out so they'd work backwards and forwards, and I drew it all out in these little scribbles. And then when I came to look at it again, it was like looking at kind of, sort of hieroglyphics. I was thinking, what the hell does that all mean? So I had to kind of go through it again and work it all out. But I really enjoyed doing all the backward stuff. I just thought it was a nice way of you replaying. Oh, like for instance, right here, Timothy Dalton, you see his face. He did that scene earlier on, but in the earlier scene, when you see David and Lucy getting killed, we painted out his face, so you just see a black hood. So basically, Dalton is in. I don't really call him Dalton. We always refer to him by his surname, Timothy. Also nice to replay that kind of splat. You can't see a head getting crushed enough times in a film.
I think
she was about to sell up to the developers.
This is interesting as well because the summation is obviously a complete misconception of what's really going on, and this what we're seeing isn't what happened. It's what Angel thinks happened, because obviously when we see the truth.
Yeah,
you did it with lots of the NWA there.
Well, also we like the idea that like the real reasons for people being killed are really like to quote Chris Morris, small and twatty.
Yeah.
But but I like that Angel's theory is really overreaching. We really wanted to like we watch things like Chinatown again and things that have a really dense sort of labyrinthine sort of is it labyrinthine or labyrinthian? Labyrinthine.
Sort of over-dense kind of thing.
Absolutely. I just like that he's really overthought it, and it's really... And you can... Unlike, Timothy obviously is kind of like sort of sits there smugly like the cat who got the cream, but I like the rest. The other officers are like, convinced for a little bit.
Yeah. I think there was a line that I really liked that we actually cut for time when
The one-stop shop.
No, when he said the truth is Skinner said the truth is far less Shakespearean.
Oh yeah, that's
really
right.
liked.
This is the 21st century.
I like with Kevin and Nick there, who play the Butcher Boys, that you hear their grunt forwards and backwards. It goes, huh? Oh.
Yeah.
Tina here is a table dancer.
They're at flappers.
Look at the way I love this little exchange.
Utilize the vehicle removal.
I just like the idea of a lap dancing club called Flappers.
Let's go.
Let's patent it. For
We should have
God's
had the
sakes.
rap
we can
party at Flappers.
we can start Flappers right now. Screw this doing like DVDs. You
Let's
know.
get out of here.
Let's not make any more films. Let's open a chain of Flappers.
That'll confound the critics.
Um,
Whose leg
it's very,
was cut?
I love that. It's like really like Hercule Poirot-ish, the idea of like saying your closing line twice.
Yeah.
This very evening. This very evening. Like he's so certain he wants to kind of have the big finish and it doesn't work out.
Little split focus work from you here.
Yeah,
Very funny.
that's a nice shot.
Now,
I did have a cameo in here and I cut it out.
Oh, you
because
cut it out?
Well, I thought at this point in the film, if the film was dragging due to my cameo, it would look particularly indulgent if like my cameo at this point was only adding to the running time.
let it never be said we're indulgent.
I cut out my cameo for God's sake. I like though. I know it's been mentioned, but like I like the fact that Dalton is looking so obviously looking at the camera as his alibi, like the paper,
Oh, yeah.
and like posing with the shoppers. It makes me laugh.
There he is. Look.
I love the music.
paper.
The music on this bit makes me laugh as well. Again, the score is so kind of like swelling and huge.
I'm really glad. I remember there was a time when we were trying to sort of bring it down a little bit, and you were considering cutting that little bit of the dramatics from Skinner there, and I'm really glad you didn't because it's.
Oh, Timothy's so funny doing the the kind of faux sincerity. It's really funny. Also, we must say that like I think when Timothy has a moustache, he has magic powers. Dalton with Tash is always great. He's always bad and he's always great.
Prince Baron, case in point.
Prince Baron, absolutely.
Flash Gordon.
There's a nice little scene with Billy there. I love this music on this. It's great. This is the
Paddy looking at him.
Angel is a broken man at this point. I like Nick's little laugh here after he goes. This bit one here. Makes me laugh.
Oh, he's really trying to bring Angel out of his funk. Another reference
There
to
you
Shaun of the Dead.
go.
Oh.
The idea with this is that we thought in Shaun of the Dead we had strawberry cornettos because red denoted blood, and original cornettos with a blue wrapper because blue denotes police.
Who
So
knows
if we
what
do
kind
it,
of confection we'll use now?
well, clearly, if we do a third film together, you have to have a mint cornetto and a green wrapper to denote something else.
I mean, if
When? You heard it here first.
it's going to have to be some sort of Arctic adventure.
Yeah, I have to have something green in it. Why don't we just remake Godzilla versus the Smog Monster? That's got green in it.
I've always thought it would be really good to make a brilliant sequel to a bad film.
Yeah, like Godzilla. But no, but the original Godzilla's good. What are you talking about? The Roland Emmerich
Take
one?
a film that didn't really ever didn't do that well, and then make a really good sequel to it. I can't think of one right off the top of my head, but
Twister 2.
yeah, but make it amazing.
You've come from a city where there's danger around.
Let's
like
just
this
start the
line.
rumour now that we're making a sequel to Twister.
driven you round the bend.
This is the other great cliche. This is like, again, if like somebody says, go home. Usually in a thriller, like in one of the Dirty Harry films, say like Magnum Force with Hal Holbrook, Callahan will ring up, Clint Eastwood will ring Hal Holbrook and say, I've figured it out. And Hal Holbrook goes, stay there, I'm coming over.
Yeah.
Which means the hero is about to get attacked.
Yeah.
Or the conspiracy, a partner is going to die.
It means shit gets deeper.
The shit just gets real. Shit gets deeper.
That's
I like
another-
deeper.
That's
I like
another
that.
one.
I like that one.
Oh,
I like that one.
his little movement there. Is great.
I like your really over dramatic. I could do with a walk.
Now this is like for week 1 doing that, and that was
and
week
then that was right at the
12.
end. That was shot at 5 a.m. That shot.
Little woo reference, but quite happenstance because those pigeons just happened to be around.
I think
didn't they?
you know what, Tony Scott deserves some credit for the doves. I think
really?
Tony Scott did it before John Woo, to be honest.
Well, there you go. Eat that.
This was fun to shoot.
This is your birthday.
It was a very long day in a tiny room. One thing that was cool, we had this tiny set and we never took the walls out because we thought it would make it more claustrophobic. And we really, Paul Herbert, our stunt coordinator, did a really good job here. We really wanted to watch a lot of, like, there are so many great close quarters fights in films, from Russia with Love, Raising Arizona,
Born
Kill
Supremacy.
Bill, Volume 2, Born Supremacy. That's a nice stunt with... The only bit that Simon didn't do is the going into the glass there, but everything else was you. And,
He looked like a mutated Ronaldo footballer, not our line producer.
we reshot that, didn't we? We did some more shooting on this scene to kind of, like, amp it up a little bit.
That whole thing of when Rory threw me into the cupboard and threw me into the chest of drawers, he is a very strong man, Rory, and he used to grab handfuls of my flesh, not meaning to. But when he threw you, he really did throw you.
Listen, man, I think your Widow's Peak is absolutely suited to thrillers. I think you've got the perfect face. You can do
For
comedy.
tragedy.
Yeah, just for like tense. You can look tense.
It's
like
quite,
the sort of
quite
like,
an old kind of hairdo, isn't it? Really, I mean, I'm lumbered with it, but it's like it's quite a classic look.
I'm gonna call it male pattern suspense from now on. It's also the best thing about your hair is it's easy to draw. That's why I will never work with a curly-haired actor. I will only work with Simon because I can. It's like drawing Charlie Brown, and then I do little Norman Osborn Widow's Peak. Done, job done.
So you wouldn't. Martin Riggs wouldn't have stood a chance in this.
No,
film,
I'm
the
not.
story
You
was.
know, I wouldn't. I couldn't work with like Stephen Mangan. He's got curly hair. I can't draw him.
Or Gutenberg, any
or
of the curly
Gutenberg.
Steves.
I'm not gonna draw Julian Ryan Tutt's hair. And stick with the peg. Apologies to Stephen and Julian.
That was.
This is the Bishop's Palace in Wales. Now this scene, I'm really pleased with it. This scene was an absolute bitch to shoot because we were shooting it in June. We had 6-hour nights and basically we would constantly run out of time. And as I'm sure has been mentioned elsewhere, like basically when it came around to Simon's reverses, we had to shoot them with the local Amdram Society. All the other actors are gone, and Simon had the very unfortunate task of shooting the scene without everybody else there. There's a little relay race of the other hooded figures there.
It was. I think I was on the first rehearsal. I was terrified, but once they warmed up, they were great. And I remember I said on the other commentary actually, Nick actually read Jim's lines because Jim's stand-in hadn't obviously learnt the lines, so he had to
keep
look down
looking
a
at his
lot.
sides at his script.
So it was a tough night, and but I have to extend massive gratitude to those people for coming and doing that, and they really threw themselves into it.
Oh, absolutely. That was the Wells, the people from the Little Theatre in Wales.
That's right.
You're not supposed to say amateur dramatics. You're supposed to say musical society.
Really?
Or yeah, they don't. Amdram is a dirty word.
I think it's because it's become a little bit synonymous with shite.
Well, I think amateur is not nice. You got to say musical society
I grew up
or the
around,
players, dramatic society.
I grew up around amateur dramatics, and as far as I can see, it's just a lot of people doing something because they love it rather than they're getting paid for it. So I've got maximum respect for them.
Lying on the wet floor
And for saving my skin that night.
I like
tragically broken his neck.
I like the fact that Judy goes, no.
Nobody able to concentrate on the
Yeah, like it's sweet.
And now, what I love about this is it is never, in the popcorn logic realm, it's never entirely explained how exactly it breaks down that they have meetings at night in a castle with hoods and ones in the kind of the town hall or in the function room of the Swan.
at all.
I like it. It's like sort of. I also like that the security at Sandford Castle is quite lax.
Yeah.
You just jumped over a gate.
Anyone can jump over a gate and go and see a magic meeting.
A 6-year-old could have done that.
You see Angel's notepad is already in place to save his life later on.
Yeah.
For the greater good.
This was one of the first ideas that we had. I really like obviously there's a Wicker Man vibe in it in terms of like, there's lots of kind of great, literature where you have the town against one person. There's a great novel by Dashiell Hammett called Nightmare Town. H.P. Lovecraft.
Dead and Buried.
Dead and Buried, Dennis Wheatley. The idea of like everybody is bad and there's only one kind of like good guy. So there's an element of that in terms of, I always just love that about like the Wicker Man, that everybody was in on it. But the other thing that really influenced us was the twist in Murder on the Orient Express. I don't want to ruin it for people, but basically they all did it.
Hopefully you've watched the film by this point.
But I just love that in terms of, I would love to know at what point Agatha Christie wrote Murder on the Orient Express, where she thought, here's the twist, they're all bad, and they're all in on it. So,
And what about Tim Messenger? What was his crime?
and like we said before, I just like the idea that all of the crimes are really petty. It's basically like, this is like the letters page of the Daily Mail writ large and on the big screen.
It's England going to shit.
But also, like, I mean, both me and Simon are from the sort of the country, and like, I'd be lying if I said that my mum in her time had her age kind of incorrectly put in the paper, and it was a massive, concern to her that she was quoted as being kind of 4 years older than she actually is, and people's names being misspelled. There was a guy at school that we did a charity thing at school, and one of the guys whose name was Simon Bardell was misspelt as Simon Barrell, and of course, being kids, we never let him forget that. We called him Simon Barrell for about 2 years.
I got called Simon Reg in something once, and that stuck. I think when you don't appear in the paper that much, if they mess up your one appearance, then it's devastating. Obviously now we read lies about ourselves all the time.
You're watching Hot Fuzz with Simon Reg and Dick Rost.
Now here's a great reveal, and it always chills me to the bone when I see it, which is I think a good sign. But Jim being bad is a horrific fact.
I know. How could the... Now what's interesting is we changed the name of... it was Iris Butterman in the script, and when Jim Broadbent came on board, he pointed out that, obviously he played Iris's husband in what he won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor.
Well, really?
So it seemed very, very wrong to kind of call her Iris, the dead wife.
Absolutely, and we kind of... Jim had always been down to play that role. We'd always wanted him to, but we'd never really put two and two together.
No. The whole thing with the crusty jugglers, because I used to live in Somerset, we'd have Glastonbury nearby, and it would always be around kind of the Glastonbury Festival, there would always be an influx of fire eaters and jugglers, and so there would be a lot of consternation about the June influx of crusty jugglers. I'm not sure that term was ever used, but that's how I describe them.
Stuart Wilson used to love saying it. That used to really make him laugh. That crusty jugglers.
Crusty jugglers.
Going to have to come with us.
Uh-oh.
Wasn't it Bill Bailey who pointed out that it should be...
Oh yeah, it was
Nissan.
it was originally a Nissan Cherry, and they said no, it's a Datsun Cherry.
Yeah.
Because it changed over in before the date that we mentioned.
You overpowered Lurch very easily there.
That was quite a technical move I did then.
I wish we'd have done a bit more of a Jackie Chan move where you maybe spun round Nick and kicked him in the face, but
All right.
That's for Hot Fuzz 2. Fuzz
Fuzz
harder.
Fuzz harder.
Fuzz with a vengeance.
Fuzz hotter.
Fuzz hotter. We've been through about 3 different counties in as many shots. We went from Wells to where was that place? Waverley Abbey. I've no idea.
It was in Hertfordshire, wasn't it?
Hertfordshire into Essex. This is in Copt Hall.
Dog muck.
How did they get the caravan into the cave?
I don't know.
It's like sort of getting a ship in a bottle.
But it's not a cave. It's a sort
catacombs.
Of catacombs.
This we shot afterwards.
Yeah.
The underage drinkers, we were so pleased with their performance that we brought them back and we shot their dead bodies.
Killed them.
And we brought David Bradley back, and we did a dummy of Ben with maggots in his eyes.
There's Sergeant Potwell, who
There's Graham Lowe, the living statue,
you'll
dead.
see in the deleted scenes was there was a photograph of him on the wall, and the person who in the photograph was the real Nick Angel.
And Sergeant Potwell, there's a reference to Albert Potwell, who is the character actor who appears in every Dirty Harry film playing a different black stereotype. Fact fans.
Eventually becoming his partner in the end.
I love the fact that Nick can't look at you. I love the fact that Danny can't look at you after he's done it. It's kind of like the complicity in terms of like when you see what's happening is the idea that Angel knows he hasn't been stabbed and knows that he has to play dead.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, I get it. It's ketchup.
The end.
The music in this is great. That was shot in the studio, that pickup, wasn't it? And then
I remember when you were putting the film together with a temporary soundtrack, I remember thinking, because you did such a great job, I was thinking, my God, David's going to have to really pull the push the boat out to match it, and he just did like 1,000 times over.
Oh yeah, the music in this is great.
It's fantastic.
This, the red lighting in this is kind of obviously a bit of Tarantino and stuff with the car boot, but also like Goodfellas has that amazing scene with the kind of like lit by the car backlights and.
Somebody thought it was a reference to Mulholland Drive.
Not specifically, no. Although I love Mulholland Drive, it's a brilliant film. Your performances in this scene are so great. I'm so proud of your performances, especially because this was a tough night. Like remember, this is when most of the camera crew had left because we went over schedule, and we had almost a completely new crew on this day, and it was very disconcerting. But like. What I love about this scene is it's really dramatic and you're really going for it, but there's big laughs in it as well, like skeletons and
Judge Judy.
Also, Judge Judy, but I love the fact that your voice cracks kind of for Blue Fury. The Blue Fury. Now it's worth pointing out that I've never seen the episode, but we didn't know that Judge Judy is also in The Simpsons.
Oh, is it?
Apparently, although I've never actually seen that episode, I'm not even sure whether that's true. The trouble is, pretty much with every joke in the history of the world. Somebody can say, "Oh, it's on The Simpsons."
I know, because they've done every joke.
The Simpsons in 200 episodes has covered every joke known to man. This is a nice shot coming up. I'm really pleased with this shot.
Poor little Danny disappearing into the shadows.
This way you can see the sun come out. We were shooting this at like 5 in the morning. It was so weird. It's always so weird doing night shoots.
And that was on the day we came back from Wells. I remember driving back. I followed Barry in my car because I'd driven to Wells, and I span out on a roundabout and nearly didn't make it.
No film is complete without a white lines montage. See Blue Velvet, see Mad Max, see Terminator 2. You cannot go wrong with the old white lines.
It's the road, it's the unknown path.
Now this is Colin Michael Carmichael, Nigel Tufnell himself. It's amazing. I could not get over how much he looked like Christopher Guest. It was starting to freak me out. Now, this is Robert Rodriguez did the music for this bit, which he did for a favour, for a laugh. He didn't even see the rest of the film. He just watched these two scenes. No. It's also worth pointing out that that shot there is probably one of the most complicated in terms of the clearances. We cleared all of those films. It's too much going on in this scene. That's when at this point on, when you say, this is something I have to do myself. From this point on, Simon ADR redubbed all of his dialogue to make it sound a bit more like an 80s action film. So from this point on, even though we had good sound, I just like the idea that
because you can always tell, can't you? Even if it's brilliant, you
close mic dialogue like this.
It just sounds slightly, and you probably can't even put your finger on why.
This is a nice digital effect where the car just suddenly appears behind him. Actually, weirdly a special effect.
The Jetta.
Now this was a difficult scene because we went and reshot more stuff in this and went from being my least favourite scene because it was a bit compromised to being probably my favourite.
Tell us what you did later then.
That's new. That's new.
It's literally just
there's little bits and bobs. This is old. We put in a sign. That sign is a special effect behind. That's new.
Is that a digital sign?
Yeah, it's a digital sign.
Incredible.
This is all new, the stuff here. And then the shot with bang, where the foot goes into Muriel Charles' face, that was new. We did the old Jackie Chan trick of the stuntman had a trouser leg on his arm and a shoe on his hand, which is how they do kick shots in Jackie Chan.
Here's Robert again.
This is Robert's music again, which sounds amazing. That sounds like the trailer to Extreme Prejudice or something. I love this montage so much. This I'm such a like a 14-year-old boy, but this kind of stuff gets me hard, I'm sorry to say. Crash Sims and guns. I know it's so obvious. I apologise, but it gets me hard.
And as I said in the other commentary, you made me do all of that, didn't you?
Yeah, that was your hands.
I was happy you did.
Also, you listen to this like RoboCop's footsteps. The idea that the footsteps are really thumping. So Robert Rodriguez had only seen these two scenes, and only the other day did he see the whole film as how it all fit together.
I'll turn your ringer back.
Ha 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 ha.
Well, that's funny. What's that?
I didn't know we had a mounted division. This always gets a bigger laugh in the UK than it does in the States, because I think just, obviously like Two Bill Baileys has a
of
more
course,
currency in the UK.
Because people
Double Bailey.
People in America don't know that there isn't two Bill Baileys.
Yeah, he could be like those twin actors that are in Gremlins 2 and Terminator 2.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to those guys? Haven't seen them since Good Morning Vietnam. Yeah. They're like the American Kevin and Nick.
I think the twin shit dried up.
The Zito is a reference to Joseph Zito, who trash fans will know directed Invasion USA, classic Chuck Norris.
God, I didn't know that.
He directed Red Scorpion. He also directed Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
Edgar, do you know what as well I didn't know about the Treacher thing, about that being the siege at Treacher's farm?
Oh yeah, reference to Straw Dogs, the original novel.
I just thought we named it after Bill Treacher, who played Arthur Fowler.
We got that shot of the sign in there so we could set it up for coming through the pub window. You know what's weird? That shot of Stuart, it looks like he's Monsieur Hulot. It suddenly looks like we're in France. The background looks very French all of a sudden.
I love Lorraine, her little sort of confusion here is great. And you put a little breath in ADR, which is nice.
Tim Barlow is really pissed off. Listen to this music. I remember when we were we heard this being, the orchestra performing this, and it was such a rush.
I was so jealous because I was filming and I couldn't come and
it was amazing. This you can't go wrong with a Good, the Bad, and the Ugly style kind of cutting around all the protagonists moment. I love the idea there's too many protagonists. It goes on slightly too long.
I love the way they break, Paul and Trevor and Elizabeth, the way they all run off in different directions.
Yeah. It's so kind of cartoony. Here's a bit of you redubbing yourself.
Morning.
And the first one to break. That's what that line earlier on about guilty people make the first move. Is that Treacher gets his gun out before they could have just stood there, but Treacher actually breaks.
Guilty people make the first move.
The thermos in the thermos and the guns in their basket was a little nod to Robert Rodriguez at Desperado style.
I like to think that Amanda Paver's thermos is also a bomb. This
was shot in Wells Marketplace. We didn't really have this place locked off, so any of these shots, around the other side of the camera is lots of school kids and old ladies watching, which was quite surreal. Now, one of my regrets is that we didn't have a shot of the hoodies grabbing her and pulling her down, because that's what's supposed to happen, is that the idea she gets yanked back, and I think could have had a little hoodie stuntman grabbing her.
Wham!
So this is nice. It almost becomes a little bit Children's Film Foundation, this, because you're not killing anybody. It's like you're orchestrating a bunch of slip-ups, aren't you?
But our idea was that
he's not a killer.
That Angel maintains moral superiority at all times. He's like Batman. He never takes a human life.
Yeah. It was the idea, doing I suppose similar to Uma Thurman in Kill Bill, where she doesn't really kill anybody in The House of Blue Leaves. She kind of takes off their
limbs. Apart from the guy whose head she cuts in half.
Yeah, he's dead. He's definitely dead. Greg and Sherry here, blasting back.
I love that shot when the glass falls down.
This was fun to do. This was so much fun to do.
Is there anything you've done with the kind of frame speed in this? Because there's a quality to it that looks...
It's like a hand crank camera. Tony Scott uses it a lot in Man on Fire and Domino. It's you basically control the speed of the camera yourself, so you get these really irregular patterns. So I really like it. There's a shot here in a second. Yeah, you saw it there where Trevor just disappears. Bingo. Shooting out the brachial nerve, taking out the shoulder, disarming them.
Nice, which is hard to do with a shotgun, which is basically a spread weapon. There she comes.
Oh, I love this bit. This is one of my favourite bits to shoot. Billie looks so at home with this machine gun.
She's such a versatile actress. She's amazing. 72 years old, and yet somehow looked like she was born to fire a gun like that.
Billie Whitelaw is amazing. Eric as well. Look at this.
Eric. Now,
it's crazy.
You've only seen Eric awake, I think, once in the film already, and he's when you finally see him in action, he's a master swordsman.
He's like the Major from 40 Towers has come back with a vengeance. Ow, my bloody hip!
Stop this, please.
There's Paul.
Paul Freeman.
Stop this.
It's not often you get to see a kick-ass action scene in front of a National Trust shop, is it?
Absolutely. I think it could be a first. I think Paul looks good in the cassock.
He looks great.
Be a man of God, Reverend. But I know
this is all Lady Odd.
Yeah. Fuck off, grasshopper. You know what I think? In retrospect, he probably should have said, "Oh, fuck the police," and done a real NWA reference. Although, unfortunately, the film Talk with Ice Cube had already beaten us to that reference. So
I like "fuck off, grasshopper," but that was a very early line that we came up with.
I know it was, but it was when he was a Buddhist. I think we sort of kept it because we liked it being somebody who's virtuous and droning on. Oh, fuck off, grasshopper.
With his
spiritual theory.
I like the sort of the endless procession of hostage situations. It's like one of these action films would kind of like have maybe 2 of these in a row, but I like the idea that you have kind of like 3 or 4. Like every kind of baddie gets their kind of hostage face-off.
Well, that's the thing is when I love that. It's great. Another great bit from Stuart. The bit with when Frank takes Danny hostage. That pack it in. It's it's enough is enough.
For fuck's sake,
Pack it in, Frank, you silly barstool.
If you see, he blows his own toe off and then he treads on his toe with his other foot, which is particularly nasty.
Ow!
You're a doctor. Deal with it.
Yeah, motherfucker.
If you go actually with Stuart falling over, I really wanted to do that Inspector Clouseau, like Return of the Pink Panther style.
What, get him to do it himself?
I did. I got Stuart to do it himself. He did his own slow motion sound.
Here we
now,
go.
if you look there's a sign that says 2 shooters for the price of 1. Ba-boom.
Ba-boom.
A little visual and verbal joke.
Another more grapefruit machine stuff. And here we come.
I love this music here. This makes me laugh so much. Never has so much ammunition been expended without actually hitting anybody. I think we wanted to take the record from John Woo for kind of like people not getting shot at. Actually, that's not true. John Woo shoots a lot of people. Let's say James Bond, or let's say the A-Team, in fact.
Yeah, no, the A-Team were kind of hamstrung by their inability to hit people. The
no squibs in the A-Team, a squib-free show.
Now that hole in the table, was that there? Because
we put in
more
there's
damage.
a couple of dimension holes.
Yeah.
I just love the fact that you don't get hit at all.
That's great.
Well, when you pop up, the idea when you pop up and you hear that noise is it's like an extra life.
That's right, yeah.
It's literally like he died and he got to continue.
Well, we kind of wanted it to have the kind of video game feel of Hard Boiled, in that even to the point where they say we're going after the big boss, you know.
Oh yeah, it's like different levels. It's like here's the marketplace level, here's the pub level, here's the supermarket.
Yeah, and not cynically, so it could be turned into a video game either. It was entirely because a lot of those films do have that structure.
Although, if any game manufacturers are listening, we would like to turn it into a video game because we'll make lots of money. Goodbye. I love the lighting in this scene. It's just really nicely lit.
I just like the continual removing of ocular blockages, like visors, glasses.
Everybody takes something off in this scene.
I want to just go back to the bear trap thing. Obviously, the bear trap is a little nod to Straw Dogs, but also you can't go wrong with like sort of blood splatting the lens.
It's a very clever device, that, because it breaks the fourth wall and employs a kind of documentary realism in something which is essentially not documentary realistic. It's a real cheat, but a very
it's
clever
funny.
one.
Like sort of, I think Saving Private Ryan kind of repopularised it, but I always remember like as a kid watching the film Earthquake, where there's a scene where people fall down in a lift. And to show that they all get splattered, cartoon blood, like the Batman TV series, splats the lens. And I always think, that's just weird. I like the fact that, like, Saxon eventually stops barking.
Saxon.
Like, he licks his lips. As soon as Carl turns, Saxon follows suit.
He's awesome, yeah.
Here we go. Nom, nom, nom.
He's right, Dad.
We should redub it with like Saxon saying some of the lines, going, I agree.
He's right, you know. Like Meathead.
Like Meathead from Sudden Impact. He's our favourite police dog, other than Samson Saxon.
Paddy De Niro it up to the hilt there.
Now watch out for this amazing pantomime roar by Jim Broadbent. Look at this. We put on like a lion roar on that shot. It makes me laugh. Why don't they run after him?
Enham. Because it's time to go to the supermarket level.
Yeah. I love that the empty shot with the smoke, the dry ice.
And also that was a callback to They'll Come Round Again, was a callback to what Jim says about the hoodies in the first scene with Weaver. Summerfield, God bless Summerfield.
I know, that makes me laugh. It goes all that amped up John Spencer, Tony Scott nonsense, and you've got customer parking only.
I was, we've come across clearance issues before and come to blows with people, but, a maximum respect to Summerfield for allowing us to portray, have their story in the film with a murderous psychopath as a manager.
I used to work at Summerfield's, and for 5 years, it was my Saturday job. I have worked in this is the one. I have cleaned that car park in my time. I have picked up nappies. and I have collected all the trolleys from that car park, so I know every square inch of that car park.
What an amazing coming home for you to do this film here. I mean, honestly, to be making a multi-billion-dollar movie in a car park that you once cleaned, I mean, that is poetic.
This, we're back in Hounslow now, back in the interior. Paul Herbert, our stunt coordinator, did a great job doing these sequences because he basically tried to do as much of it with you and Rory as possible so it looked more realistic. There's obviously a lot of stunt doubling in there in places.
We were left with no choice on this day because Rowley, my stunt double, broke his collarbone.
That's right.
In the morning.
On the rehearsal, that's right.
On the rehearsal for the fight, and then I had to do it all by myself. But obviously with Paul looking after me
and Nick was your stunt double, wasn't he? In a lot of bits.
Nick then took over.
I have to say as well, with the action in this film, we did as much as we possibly could for the budget, and it's worth pointing out that for one Miami Vice or Bad Boys 2, you could get about 9 hot fuzzies.
Yeah.
Now, the thing here with that bolognese, we only got one.
Bolognese lane came up on the day. That was
yeah.
We came up with that and went and told Paddy to say it.
The interesting thing with that kind of the deli counter there is that I really wanted to smash that glass, but because it was curved, it was really expensive to replace. And so we thought, I was so annoyed that we couldn't smash the glass, so what we did is we put on the sound of it being bulletproof. So I like the idea that Skinner, in his preparation for the apocalypse, would have put like a bulletproof deli counter in
the
there.
butcher's.
So you hear the noise of it going, boom, 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 boom.
That was a nice Jackie Chan style stunt.
Yeah. I really wanted to blow up this deli counter, which we eventually do.
I think one of the things that was I wouldn't say I found it frustrating, but I think because I think you did such a good job of mounting the action scenes, you know, it wasn't ever appreciated just what you did for what you had. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you know, it's not sort of like, it wasn't the biggest budget in the world. Basically, everything we shot is on screen.
Yeah,
I love this little run here. That's a real, like, Michael Bay moment of you running slowly.
A slow-mo cleaver just going over my head as I went down.
There's a few digital cleavers in here. Here's a digital cleaver coming up. After he says shame. Oh no, it's gone. There's one. That's a digital one. And another one here. Bing. There you go. Yeah, we added extra kind of knives in and stuff to make it seem a bit more dangerous. I love this. This is real Marvel Comics. Idea. That's real, like, Spider-Man think bubble stuff.
I love the 2 shots of the Andes on either side. There's something really kind of documentary-ish about these two.
Yeah.
Paddy's white teeth against his red face is great.
Now, basically, with the first take, you guys had got so pissed off running up and down this thing that on the first take, when it came to actually hit the thing, you smashed the glass, which I was secretly very happy about.
I think Rafe was quite annoyed that day because he wanted to get somewhere. We've discussed this.
I love this bit. Clonk.
Now you did something in the edit to amp that up between times I saw it once.
You cut out all the music just before the hit, basically. You have all the music building up, and then you cut the sound out.
Fruit attack!
There's digital fruit here as well. You see a couple of bits of digital pineapples and things going through shots. Digifruits. That's digital as well. That big splat behind them. I like the fact that he would open fire on some unarmed shell
I know.
stackers.
It always gets a laugh as well that he just fires a fucking M1 rifle at some kids.
No 80s action film is complete without somebody kicking a door down.
Absolutely.
Usually Schwarzenegger go, nug, nug. Nug, nug.
Or jumping. Quite a lot of arm waving there. I might have...
I know, that seems like a stuntman special to do lots of arm waving.
Yeah.
The same that stuntmen, when they do driving scenes, always kind of cover their faces, with
it's
their
almost
hands.
instinctive, isn't it? They do it without... This was so much fun, running around
it's
that
so
corner.
Loud, I love it. It's
my
so
mum and my
ridiculous.
sister were there that day.
It's so ridiculous. Punch that shit. I think
there they are. We've
my mum,
Mr. Peter Wilde and my mum.
The Village of the Year officials. I love quite a few people pointed out with this chase. The funny thing about it being an English chase, not only are you've got a chase with 2 Astras, but because it's the UK, they're driving in a straight line, just like driving down endlessly down the sort of like a country lane.
Astra diesels.
Astra diesels in action.
It's
now,
like
my one regret with the budget here as well is there should have been a bit more breaking glass. I think if we could have afforded to, we had the time, I would have shot that windscreen to shit.
Yeah, and smash the top, the sirens.
You do see the siren smash there in a second, digitally.
Oh, yeah,
look at
just
this.
before.
Coming up, you see it, bang, bang, bang.
I really like
Down
that,
it,
actually.
Bang,
Wow.
there goes the siren. But I like this bit here. This is a nice stunt coming out.
Swan.
Now that's a real swan there, but it looks like a puppet. That was a real swan, amazingly.
And
This.
here's little Alexander
I love this shot.
playing Aaron A. Aronson.
This was fun to shoot. This is basically shot through the air with a big, like, you know, kind of cannon, like an air ram thing. We smashed up 2 Astras doing that.
We did it twice. It
Bing,
never
bing,
actually turned
bing,
over, did
bing.
it? Fully.
I know. I wanted them to play. Like I said to the guy with the air ram, I said, if you hit the first car with the second car, it was like a game of car bowls. I said I'd give him 100 quid if he could hit the other Astra, but he didn't. I would have given him 100 quid as well.
Unlike some people we know.
This is a classic hostage situation. Any cop film worth its salt will end in a Dirty Harry ends in a sort of like killer
That
and
is, it's
kind of like kid situation.
Scorpio.
But I like the fact the kid is really quick thinking. He's not scared at all. He just bites his hand immediately.
Aaron A. Aronson, played by Alexander King, a very studious young actor.
He's one tough nut. He's a tough ginger nut.
He was always reading.
I'm really pleased with this punch-up, actually. It feels really like...
There's
you guys
some good
did
noises in there. That back end sounded like Rose of the Lost Ark.
I know the punch noises are so loud. But also, you guys did a really good job with this. And obviously, our Paul, the stunt coordinator, but it looks proper. It looks really good.
I actually cut together Paul's video of into. I'll have to. It's a shame I can get that for the DVD. That would have been good.
Oh.
Oh, he's got the hand.
He's got the hand crunching. Dalton gets 4 in, but of course, for the last one, no.
Wow.
Catches it.
Sorry.
Comes back up. The music swells. He says a cool line.
Eat
Punch.
that.
He's down. It's a BAFTA. Maybe it's not a BAFTA. Not for this kind of film. BAFTA nomination unlikely. But this makes me laugh. That's like in one of the Clint Eastwood films. That's where it would say a Malpaso production. You've got the crane shot. It's like the film is
That's
over.
the end, yeah.
It would be the end, but of course we still have 16 endings to go. Here he comes, and here's one of them.
I love the way that
He's got a box cutter knife. He's got
Timothy
like
draws out that angel so well.
But also the fact that he kind of like the box cutter knife, he kind of flicks it out really slowly. I love this bit.
Holy shit. Crunch!
This, again, like, it was storyboarded exactly like this. If you look at the boards, it looks exactly like the boards, but still, I'm still so impressed with how well the effect worked on that.
So poetic that Skinner, who had orchestrated Messenger's death by church roof, suffers a similar fate, but backwards.
You've also, like all action films are going to have somebody being impaled by it.
Well,
Be it
Stuart's
kind of
got a
Con
great
Air,
impalement
Ricochet,
in
No Escape, absolutely.
He lands on a great big spike.
Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Not that that's an action film, although there is a killer nanny.
Oh, come on.
Well, like,
Not another hostage
well, like you said,
situation.
there's dialogue here is quite self-reflexive. The thing of like pack it in, like we've had enough of these hostage situations.
Yeah.
You know, I'll tell you how this is going to end.
I like
Also, the earlier thing when he says that you say about like
Bring an end
put
to
it into
this
this absurd story.
Yeah. And here we have the Point Break.
I just like the shot of Jim Broadbent running through a sprinkler in slow motion. When was the last time we saw that in a
I read
film?
somebody somewhere saying that this bit, it was so obvious, this bit, and it's like, well, of course it's obvious. It's like a complete
I love it.
telegraphed reference.
I love it.
It's the point.
I like the thing of like the swan in the back of his car. There's so many films, like I think some people assume it's like a Aliens or Jurassic Park reference, but the fact is that every films with animals, like Kingdom of the Spiders, Woody Strode is driving away from town. Who's in the back seat? Only a fucking tarantula.
No!
No, the tarantula. I love the fact that stunt is in a wide shot. There's something extremely pathetic about seeing an Astra crash into the only tree that's in the field.
With a great crunch. I love the fact that Doris, there's a lovely little thing going on there between Jim and Doris, between Jim and Olivia.
I hope people catch the Perfect Sunday thing. It just as it goes out of shot.
Is Ian Holm there playing one of the ambulance men?
All the hoodies capturing it on their phones.
Yeah, well.
Now, we said in the other commentary
They've
about
probably put that on their files next to some happy slapping.
we actually tried doing this, didn't we, with the helicopter running when we did that.
Yeah.
And it was kind of impossible.
Well, that shot of the helicopter when it goes over you is actually a digital shot. Ironically, we did actually shoot it with a real helicopter. You see it on the making of stuff, but it was a cloudy day when we did it, and then when we did the rest of the scene, it was sunny, so we had to stitch it together. John Spencer's track here, when we got this track in, John Spencer from the Blues Explosion, my favourite band, did this track, and I was so pleased when I heard it. It was amazing, especially because he did lyrics to go with the scenes, like, you know, that's right, everybody's going to jail. Like the idea of going completely over the top with the Tony Scott-isms at the end of
It's
Heels.
worth pointing out as well that when we were little 20-somethings, years and years ago, Edgar would produce John Spencer albums round at his house and say, listen to this, and then here he is having a personally scored moment from his film by him, which is a nice little bit of circularity.
When as bonus endings go, and the idea of multiple endings, this is kind of what I call the sitcom like break bumper thing. You know, in like kind of where it comes back from the end of a sitcom and there's like another scene.
Yeah.
It's all back at the office. Like the music when it comes back to the station always, I think, is a bit sitcom-y. Also, how the hell did they not manage to see that Edward was hiding in the fucking cupboard with the blunderbuss?
And not did.
He's like this. He's bonus baddie number 3.
I think it's quite a cleverly. I mean.
Well, it's like
people do-
Die Hard was the first film to do that when.
Yeah, it's when.
You know,
what's his name?
Alexander Godunov, the ballet dancer guy,
Yeah.
comes back at the end and it's like, oh, he's not dead.
But also the thing of like, you kind of forget him because there's so many baddies. Oh God, no.
You have to blow shit up. This worked. This miniature here, that's real. This is miniature,
That's
which is
miniature.
amazing. The model shot was amazing. Artem did a great job. Also, so, you know, like, how amazing to blow Edward Woodward up in such a spectacular fashion. Now, check out, there's the hedgehog.
I remember
There's
being
hedgehog.
in the dub when you put the squeak on that.
Yeah, the hedgehog is the first survivor.
I've got to say, Olivia Colman looks gorgeous, all grubbed up.
You know who didn't have any grub on them? Saxon. Saxon strangely had no, like, soot on him whatsoever. The dog completely...
He was fussy, though. He was fussy like that. He didn't like soot. He wasn't happy with being muddy. Mind you, nor was Paddy.
No. Here's some nice wafting bits of paper just to really over-egg the pudding.
Actually, the Andes, Rafe and Paddy were doing some funny stuff, crying on each other.
Oh yeah, you can hear them in the background going, Andy! Sort of mimicking you. So this is obviously the cottage that is mentioned right in the first scene with Steve Coogan when he says a lovely little cottage, which then Frank Butterman informs them that isn't ready. Is there hot fuzz on the top of the Subaru there?
Where Angel eventually settles down.
We now I love the fact you put your glasses on.
Yeah.
And you've got kind of like, it's like you've turned into fascist super cop here with your black gloves.
Oh yeah, that was always our kind of intention, that the resolution wasn't necessarily the kind of ideal one, in that, you know, now the town was being run by an overachieving fascist.
Charles Bronson from Death Wish has come to town. Wouldn't it be great if in a sillier film, if it was more airplane-ish, you would have put like an audience going, no. Yeah. Well, the idea for this scene was like in the end of action
It came
films.
quite late, didn't it? I mean,
Well, yeah, the idea, like, you know, in LA Confidential, where Bud White turns up at the end, and you think it's almost like it's been shown to a preview audience, and they've said, we don't like the fact that Danny Butterman dies. You know, they say, we got to reshoot it and bring Danny Butterman back. So the idea with that graveyard scene is it's like a test audience had come up with that. This is the most over-edited sequence of all time. Originally, I'd intended to do this with one shot. It didn't really work, so I thought I'd go completely the other way. Kabam!
it's like the end of Back to the Future, that scene.
The idea of having the title at the end, the title is not anywhere earlier on, is because the idea that the film hasn't really become Hot Fuzz until the end.
Very
It's like-
smartly worked out. Yeah, that's true.
These credits go past so fast, but you can't really go wrong with Supergrass, can you? Peg,
Frost,
Simon Regg,
Mick Ross,
John Broadbean and Paddy Constantine.
Paddy Constantine, Timothy Datine,
What a list.
William Whitelaw,
Willie Bitelaw.
Iwa Woo-Wah. Not too many there. What a cast, blimey.
I know,
Amazing.
We got spoiled there.
We were spoiled for choice. An embarrassment of riches.
And not a demon among them. Everybody was up for the crack and had a great time.
Apart from the Swan, Elvis the Swan.
Elvis was a wanker.
He was such a diva.
He was quackers.
What did Nick say that he's waiting for his test results?
Yeah, he was waiting for his HN51 result.
He was very tense during the avian flu epidemic. There's the real Nick Angel. There he is.
Who we borrowed his name.
There you go. Here comes the Fratellis.
We borrowed his name because we thought it was a wonderful
sort of combination of good and evil in Old Nick, i.e. the devil, and Angel as in the angelic host.
Also, you're nicked.
Nick
And you're
Angel.
Nick.
He's one good cop. Nick Angel. He's one tough cop.
He's one tough music
Danny
supervisor.
Butterman. He is also a cop.
And that was one
like-
of the original voiceovers for a trailer.
Yeah. Karen Beaver. Now, Karen Beaver does not get enough credit. Like, we would not be anywhere without the Beavs.
She's been
Yes,
with
we
us
have
since
lots
the
of great
beginning.
producers, Naira among them, but like, I'd like to say now that, and it might be like Karen's going back to Australia, and I think we're all going to have a little Karen-shaped hole in our repertoire.
She works so hard. I mean,
Everybody works so hard.
everybody works hard.
But Karen deserves a special.
We have a central family, kind of, that from the beginning of us and Naira and Karen, and it's a very close-knit group.
Basically, what I'm saying is, Karen, don't go. We're going
Yeah.
to start crying.
Well, Australia's are closed apparently anyway to you, so you can't
We just have
go.
to make the next film in Australia. Me, you, and Naira have to go over.
And then we
Look
could
at-
we should mention Matt Natheim, who was our stills photographer, who's an Australian, who was amazing photographer.
We the entire crew here is just amazing. So many people working on it. It's
Jane
crazy.
Walker, our makeup artist, and Candice and Tony.
Lordy, look at these names. Too many people.
Katie Rudge. Looks after the extras.
We had such a large camera crew as well. It's incredible. Like Peter Field, he was one of our B camera operators. He was great. It was amazing.
Simon Baker, the star of Land of the Dead. There.
Yeah, absolutely. And The Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah.
He has very strange eyebrows in The Devil Wears Prada. Has anybody noticed? Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Look out for Simon Baker's eyebrows in The Devil Wears Prada. I don't know what happened, but I like it. Man, this is John Spencer's track. This is Here Come the Fuzz, which he did specially for the film, and like, it never fails to make me laugh when John Spencer sings "Straight Out of Sanford."
Oh, yeah.
Nicholas Angel, cleaning up the streets. It's so
when he's going,
funny.
Butterman.
He also goes like, "That's how they do it down in the West Country." It's amazing.
Legend, that man.
John Spencer. I know I've never told you this, but I actually love you. I have a man crush on you. Very similar to my man crush on Clint Eastwood.
That's a good company.
Man crush.
Mini bus drivers. I wonder what the hell that said then. Morag Webster. Now, we have to give huge props to Morag Webster, our unit nurse,
There's a lot of
who patched
cuts
up
and scratches.
so many cuts and scratches on this, and has been with us since Spaced.
There's my brother there, Oscar Wright.
Morag, we salute
Second
you.
time on the credits.
Oggy Wright, Oggy and Eggy, the eternal conundrum. Which one could win in a fight? We don't know.
There's old David Arnold's amazing crew there. Look
of
at
the
all these.
music.
Look at these amazing songs as well. What an amazing soundtrack
You
to
can
get
get on the
together.
soundtrack.
XTC, Adamant, Tub Thumper, the no-hit wonder, Tub Thumper.
I have to say, you're a very adept music compiler, Eggy. You get some
I love it.
fantastic. I mean, you do it with the relish of John Cusack's character in High Fidelity.
I'm such a nerd. I love it.
There it is, people.
Solid Gold Easy Action is such an amazing song. How great to get it into a film twice. Look at all this. I love that One Tough Bastard is on there.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
you
but
see
the
it on screen
Fratellis
for all of like sort of 2 seconds.
The
Now there's some
Fratellis were
amazing.
great. Oh, here's our thanks.
Now this is funny. You got some amazing people in there. Del Toro, my lady Charlotte Hadley there, Garth Jennings.
my mum and
the
my
funniest
sister.
one coming up here is Quentin Tarantino and Summerfield Supermarkets. Never would you have put them on the same line.
And also my trainers, Deborah Pallett, Mark Osman-Bata, and Jason Wingo, who all made me a lot thinner for this film. Thank you, people.
I think John Spencer said it right when he said, "Here come the motherfuckers."
We're not allowed to say that.
We can bleep it for God's sakes. They've seen worse.
Have they?
Come on.
See you in part 3.
Bye.